This is Kanzenshuu, the podcast, episode 537 for the week of April 1st, 2026. Well, hello and welcome, everyone. Great to have you back here at Kanzenshuu,
the podcast.
Yes, we cover anything and everything. Dragon Ball, Dr. Slump, Dragon Quest, assorted other things.
Every rabbit hole we can find.
I've got myself so far off track. Enlightening, entertaining, you know the spiel. Hey, it's Mike, it's Heath. Dude, it's April 1st. That sounds like a good day to do things, huh?
I've been told that in the past by one Julian, and I've never regretted anything in my life more. So here we are.
Well, maybe this is going to be it. Yeah. Hey, you may see me around as Vegito EX. You may see him around as Fujio. Hey, buddy.
How you doing, sir?
You know, I'm doing okay because I'm just looking down the barrel of this gun of, a week and a half here. Who knows? I could get anything done or I could get nothing done. Who's to say what's going to happen? My friend, we have, if all goes according to Keikaku, we'll have launched the wiki by the time you're listening to this.
Cross your fingers. I think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I think I said this elsewhere, but in terms of like launching, it's literally, I think, like removing one line of code from a file somewhere, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. So the way it's set up is we just restrict access to everything and then opened up access to a few pages.
Yeah.
If you remove that and switch the one thing from false to true, boom. That's
ta-da! Here's the whole thing. Yeah, man. So I loved when we launched Kanzenshuu and we had this kind of like diary episode where we had recorded along the way, knowing that we were leading up to this date and this time and this project. Just hear what we had going on, what we were working on, what we were excited about, what was terrifying to us. And this is going to be a little similar to that. Less so in terms of like a chronological journey through time and more just chatting with a whole bunch of different people all about the same thing. You are up first with me. I'm going to chat with you a little bit going into the history of the project and stuff going on right now. And then I'm going to transition to a whole bunch of chats with different editors. Some folks you definitely know, some are going to be new voices along the way. So I'm psyched for everyone to check that all out. But that's the flow of the episode. I would love folks to just put this on in the background. It's probably going to be a couple hours long and just browse and just see what there is.
You will get a glimpse into our insanity.
Yes. Why am I uploading tankobon covers for old Dragon Quest manga series? I don't know. I have a brain problem. Heath, I'm going to make you go all the way back to the beginning. Well, it's like not the beginning, not the beginning. It was a dark and stormy night somewhere out in the Midwest.
Yes.
So we launched Kanzenshuu, and at that time we always knew / thought that a wiki was going to be part of the project. I had been tossing that idea around even in the old Kanzenshuu EX days. I'd have to go back and check, but I think maybe even before really getting to know y'all, I was thinking about doing it, but definitely when we merged sites, for those who don't know, Kanzenshuu EX plus Kanzentai equals Kanzenshuu. That was 2012, April 1st, 2012, when we launched the Fuse sites. We've had that wiki button up there since the beginning, haven't we?
Yes, I believe so.
We actually have been working on it, I would say, that long, although there have been a lot of starts and stops, more stops than starts, I'd say.
Yes. Well, I know when we launched the website, the priority was to get the forum up first, and we had a button there for the wiki, but it was just a placeholder only. We hadn't installed any software, or I hadn't tinkered with anything. We hadn't even done any type of integration work yet, I don't think. We had done some basic research and knew it was possible, and then that's pretty much as far as we got, because everything else became chaos with Battle of Gods, and it was shortly after Battle of Gods when we kind of revisited, hey, let's do this wiki thing that we've been talking about.
honestly, we probably should have done less integration with things overall the more I think about it. But anyway,
I know. Hindsight.
so I mean, oh gosh, we've kind of gone back here. I want to loop back around to some other questions. I'm going to move these down in my outline. All right. So what do you remember? Let's just shift things around on the fly. What do you remember about the start of the process in terms of actually working on the wiki, whether that's like installing software or just coordinating with people? Like, what are your earliest memories of this becoming a real thing?
So I will say some of this is a little hazy because it is, I think, pretty much 2013, 2014 when we really seriously went down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out how we were going to do this.
Yeah.
I remember my first real inkling was, hey, we're joking about it on the forums. But after that, once Kanzenshuu had launched as a website and then a forum, we were having some internal discussions between you, myself, Jake, and Julian through email of just some really high in-depth discussions of, okay, how do we want to structure this? How do we, what kind of rules and let's say regulations that we want to have everyone? Because our biggest concern from the get-go was having multiple editors. We all come from a background of we control kind of that how things are presented on our website, how things are written.
Yeah, there's not a single thing that gets written or published that we are not aware of on our own. Like when you're working with 2 people and then even just 4 people, it's like, I got a grasp on everything here.
And so for us, as I will just say control freaks, it was very daunting to how do you let that go? And if we are going to do that, how do we do it in a way where we can still have supervision over what is being published in our name? I mean, it comes from our website, even it's not us directly. It is from us directly. So we grappled with that for a while, I know. And then it was just one day, hey, you know what? I'm going to download MediaWiki. I'm going to upload it. And I'm just going to, here we go. And it was from there. It's just been kind of a slow Peter, so to speak, of editing. And we've had multiple editors come and go. We've had waves of huge activity, especially around larger events within Dragon Ball itself. Real world events of series being released or announcements. You kind of get, you can see those waves of people coming and going. And that was kind of my first inkling when we really launched and started with some of our closer friends and said, hey, you want to come edit and see what this is like, give us some feedback. And it's just kind of evolved from there. But I think the initial concept was pretty much us in email going back and forth with how are we going to do this.
Yeah. I know there are a good amount of forum threads too, where we'd be like, okay, what could a character page look like? And we kind of solicited feedback on that. I'd be real curious to go back and see what those look like and see if they even resemble anything like that. I do want to ask you, though, about some of the earliest work that you did. And it's a bit more of like a technical perspective here, because when I think about you working on the wiki, I think about setting up like all the templates in the early info boxes, all the citation stuff. Tell me about all of that and how that's allowed us to do so much more work faster, even if it is like 15 years later.
Yeah. So there was a lot of stuff off the get-go where I didn't really give anybody else access. I think maybe you and Julian were the only two, and then eventually Jake. But I had done a lot of backbone work as far as structure. Initially, it was just getting the software installed, figuring out how it operates. It is very close to a lot of HTML as far as coding, which is kind of nice, but it is its own language and it has its nuances and how it pulls from different things. But I just sat down one day and said, well, if we're going to do this, especially if we're going to bring in people, we need to have templates. We need to have an idea of what we're going to do. So I started going through and created a styles guide of kind of how we wanted to have things. And, you guys were having input as well. There was a lot of stuff I was just kind of doing it on my own and then saying, hey, so what do you think of this? How would you adjust it? Is there anything I missed? What should we include? And then I just went through and made all the navigation boxes, the info boxes, because every single one of those on every page is its own template. And every page relies on multiple templates from pulled all over. One thing I'm really proud of, which took a lot of coding and very stressful, and I probably lost my mind multiple times, was citations.
Yeah.
That was everything else. You can find documentation online that kind of gives you an idea of how to structure it. And Wikipedia already has a lot of that stuff already established. But when you're starting from scratch on a very specific subject matter, as opposed to such a wide, broad subject of Wikipedia, which is literally everything, we wanted to be very consistent with how we sourced things. I remember early on, other than how we're going to give other people access and trust them, it was how are we going to cite things? That was the main driving force from what I recall of us even coming up with the idea of doing a wiki, was to have very, very citable sources for everything that we published so that someone else could backtrack. There was solid documentation of what we were saying and what we were presenting so that it was more perceivable as a fact, and avoiding 100% or as much as we possibly could any sort of opinion writing. And so being able to cite things was very critical. We wanted to be sure we were consistent across all the pages, whether it was manga, anime, movies, TV series, magazines, CDs. So I set course one day and just said, all right, we're going to start laying the groundwork for this. So to make it easy for everyone that may not own those specific properties but still want to work on the wiki, how could they cite that? And so we have just these huge databases on there of every single material item, media item that's ever been released, as much as we could cited in there, so that all they have to do is say, I'm going to use this template and I'm referencing this book, and put what page number. And it just compiles the whole thing and pulls it in so that it is consistent everywhere. That was a nightmare, and I loved and hated every minute of it.
Yeah. I want to give some concrete examples and then actually tell my own horror story with working on that too. And that's just so people understand.
We have broken so many of those templates.
Absolutely. Well, I'll get into that. So to give you an idea of what we're talking about, we can do something like, all right, I want to cite episode 19 of Dragon Ball. You can do just the little brackets and say cite episode, series equals DB, eps equals 19, and close the citation. And everything else that Heath has coded will do the work. It'll say the Tenkaichi Budokai begins. Linked to the episode page. Italicized Dragon Ball, episode 19, Japan, Fuji TV, July 2nd, 1986. It pulls all of that information from you saying DB EPS 19 kind of thing. We've got that set up for episodes, for movies, for video game guidebooks, for video games themselves. Did I say manga releases, like chapters?
And not just like specific manga.
Yeah.
Like Tonkobon, Kanzenshuu. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like we went through every single release.
Yeah.
Full color anime comics.
The magazines have been like my saving grace, because I can say like VJ for V-Jump, 1998. And, I got to fill in some of the other data because we didn't have all of that data. I can probably go back and recreate better templates for magazine stuff nowadays with all the info I have. But even with what limited info we had, it was great. The horror story I want to give you is, I'm looking at it. I forgot about this. The citing episodes. The thing about Dragon Ball is that for the longest time, every Dragon Ball TV series literally started with the words Dragon Ball, from the original series to Z to GT to Kai to Super to Daima. They all start with the words Dragon Ball. There is one thing that does not start with the word Dragon Ball. And that, my friends, is the Super Dragon Ball Heroes promotional anime. So the entire structure, like all the underlying coding and logic of citing an episode, had to be completely restructured just to add in the goddamn promo anime. I think I did that. I don't know how I accomplished it. I probably broke it 8 times and went crying in a corner and yelled for Heath at some point, but it did get done. And you can do cite episode series equals SDBH EPS equals whatever, and you will get it.
I remember getting a message from you. Can you please look at this?
It's just because, like, when you go into it, like, it's got this whole include section at the top, and I had to do, I don't know, I learned about something called like switching. I don't know it anymore, but it was a nightmare. But again, that allows us to then allow our editors to not worry about the minutia, about how to write and stylize. They know they can just refer to the citation guide, just copy this code, just swap out the number, and everything you need will just be done for you in the citation.
It's just a very nice shorthand so that we don't have to clutter everything and say, okay, here's all the sources, go look it up and then copy and paste. You can just, DB episode 3, done.
Like you said, they will have to add in page numbers for things, but I mean, that's to be expected. I would hope you would do that for that kind of stuff. So, what were some of the overall, like, other biggest challenges you saw getting this going, whether it was, I don't know, just keeping software up to date, working through this stuff, or even just the overall, like, people management side of things? I will tell you that working on this wiki has been incredible professional development for all involved.
Yes, it has. I mean, it's been kind of a combination of all of it, honestly. I think we can both agree, I was heavily involved early on and have kind of stepped back more in the past couple years once that groundwork was kind of laid. I'm still around. I help when I can. But starting it when we did was ideal, looking back on it, for me, not knowing the future.
Yeah.
But I had more free time and was able to do a lot more of that type of work. I remember one time completely breaking everything, thinking I lost it all while I was doing an update, software update to the wiki, which thankfully has gotten much easier. But back in the day, the very early versions of MediaWiki were notoriously terrible to update because it's 100% manual. Upload this to the FTP and then run this script and do the and. Also, you have a database you're worried about losing. You have all the things you uploaded you're worried about losing. So I remember in my naivete early on, I said, hey, if we're doing this, we need every single aspect of the forum, the website, and the wiki to all look very similar so that you can tell you're within one entity, which was Kanzenshuu. And to keep that updated, because every time you update to a new version, the old skins that you could use no longer worked. So you have to do a new one, which would mean I would have to manually go back and try to recreate the layout every single time we updated.
Yeah.
And I finally lost my mind and said, I am not doing that anymore because that is a terrible idea. And it wasn't good for us as far as time management, because once it goes live, it takes a lot longer, and which would mean the wiki is down for an extended period of time while I'm trying to get it back to where it was. And so it just kind of didn't, jive from that perspective. So I kind of like what we're doing now, just using the straight vector skin that is essentially the default for Wikipedia, which is very powerful if you see it on the back end of all the different things you can do with it and what you can control. And just the search functionality and how it's structured and set up is really well done. And it's kind of like, why break anything if I don't have to? So,
yeah.
And then the people management, as far as me kind of stepping back a little, like when Therese came on, I mean, she essentially, I was just like, you know what, girl, you take this, you run. And she did a fantastic job for so long in kind of my absence, which kept a lot of things going. She knows a lot. it was basically a copy of myself, as far as, oh, well, we should do this, or we were working on this. Here's how you fix this code here. That was such a relief for me, because then I didn't feel as obligated of like, I have to be there every day to oversee things. I could just kind of step back.
Yeah.
And then, so I was very thankful for that, and still am. And we have that same kind of core group of people right now, but it's been kind of nice coming back into it a little bit and getting things ready for this launch.
Yeah. Which really, we can talk about that. I think towards the end about what is that going to look like. But before we get to that, maybe we're in it now. Like all the things I want to ask you are all kind of like variations on the same question.
Technical aspects?
No, just like, what are we excited about? What are we scared about? Like, how's it all going to break? How's it all going to fall apart? Let's start real positive here. What are you looking forward to people seeing the most? Because what are you most excited about people seeing? That's probably a better way to say that in actual English words coming out of my mouth.
For me, it's not even a specific page or section, which may be somebody else's answer, but just the overall work that was put into this. I cannot stress enough how hard it actually is to pull this much information and documentation together in one singular place. And the fact that a lot of it originated from the website and got pulled in, but then has now been completely expanded upon in some cases to what we ever would have had on the website itself, is really fascinating to see. I hope that everybody appreciates that. It's been a lot of hard work from a lot of people, and I'm just really excited to actually have it out in the open. People can use it, they can cite it, they can look at it, they can give us recommendations, or hey, did you guys know this, or did you miss this? Could you update this? That part I'm 50-50 on. Am I excited about it? Yeah. Am I not? Yeah. So it's just going to depend on how it goes, but I'm hoping for at least a warm reception, because we have been talking about it for quite a while. And I guess my fear would be, I hope we didn't set the bar so high that people are going to come in and be like, well, this is okay.
Nothing here.
That's always the fear. No, I was just going to say, I think they'll enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
Really. And it's a plethora of information that a lot of it you cannot find anywhere else, not even on Japanese websites, which I find fascinating because we're just that crazy, apparently.
Yeah, there is a lot there to kind of get into. I'm with you, and I've said this throughout a bunch of the chats you're going to hear. I'm definitely excited for people to see what we have that no one else has. I'm terrified that they're going to be like, yo, man, you don't have even the most basic page for blank. I'm like, yeah, man, we don't. It's not there because it's impossible to do all of this and still have it come out at some point. And I think that's kind of where I want to take the conversation is I kind of just decided one day, hey, fuck it. Let's just choose a date and put whatever we have live by that point live. And it was within the ballpark of being able to see April 1st down the road that I said, why don't we just choose April 1st? Because that's just fun. Because we honestly could just keep doing the song and dance of, yeah, it's coming soon. It's coming soon. Anytime. I'm like, oh, I just want to get this done. I want to get this done. Like, but we will never get this done because it's impossible to get this done. So we might as well just put it out there for people to see. And it'll at least just start using in some capacity.
Yeah. What is that benchmark that we want to get to? And the problem is that benchmark just kept moving because it'd be like, well, oh, now this came out or this came out. And when you had, it was a lot easier when we didn't have, Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Daima, Super Dragon Ball Heroes.
Yeah.
It was just, these things didn't exist. So we weren't dealing with like an active, thriving franchise. It was more of okay, we have a fixed amount of information. Okay, well, yeah, we can have all those pages. We can do that. And then, voila, the franchise comes completely back to life. Yeah. And that's where we realized we're just chasing our tail, because now you're adding on all this new information, and it's still continuing to this day. And as we know, with upcoming releases and new series, it's just never going to stop at this point. So I think that's when you approached me and said, I would like to shoot for a date. I was totally on board, because we're never going to get to the point where, hey, we're 100% comfortable with everything we have, let's put it out, because we'll be dead by that point.
Right. That is look, I'm not going anywhere soon. I'm doing okay. Like, Mike is okay, but I do feel the weight of time and mortality. And like, if I don't put this live, like, there's a significant chance that a significant amount of work will never be seen. Like, I got to make sure this gets out there at some point. I could be hit by a bus driven by M. Bison. No, I guess it was a truck driven by Bison, Dictator. And all of a sudden Korn starts playing. That could happen anytime. And it's weird to think about that being like part of the truly real reasoning why I chose to get the wiki up sooner than later is I'm worried about dying, I guess. Again, I'm not going anywhere. I'm okay. Here's where I'm at, because we've already been chatting for half an hour. There's a ton of stuff for people to listen to with more editor chats after this. Heath, as we're chatting here on just the interest of full transparency, this is March 21st. I just got done uploading a bunch of Emblem of Roto cover scans. Again, something wrong with my brain. Heath, basic question. How are you feeling about this?
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, I felt pretty good about it for a while. It was kind of daunting at first, of like, oh, are we going to do this? And then it was just, you just got to rip the Band-Aid off sometimes and go with it. And I think that's where we are, and I'm comfortable. And I think it's going to work great. I've been making sure the server is going to handle it.
I've been blocking all the AI slop bots as best I can.
Oh my God. They're terrible.
It's a Wednesday, right? Wednesday? Yeah. What do you think Wednesday, April 1st is going to look like?
Me panicking all day, watching everything.
Sure. Yeah.
Making sure nothing goes down. All that. Otherwise, I think it's going to be an exciting, uneventful day as far as things not working, or because I always look at things from that perspective.
Yeah.
It's hard to sit back and be like, I'm just going to enjoy this.
Right.
It's not that it affects anybody else.
Just sitting there with a fire extinguisher, just ready to jump up at any moment.
Pretty much. Yeah. I will be on Discord probably nonstop.
Yeah.
I'm just excited for it to be out there. I'm sure we'll get an initial surge, which will wane off at some point, and then we can all just kind of go back to the way things were, except now you'll get to watch us edit things and change things.
Yeah. Like, why is he working on that? What is going on in his brain? Yeah.
Yeah, we come across the most random thing. It'll be like, I'm going to work on this today. Oh, I started that 5 years ago. Okay, I'll pick up where I left off.
I think that's kind of one of the last things I want to chat about with you is we always talk about like, well, all right, what's the distinction between the wiki and the main website? And I've talked about this with some of the editors. You'll hear it. Whereas I always envisioned, as far back as my DVD guide, I wanted you to be able to click and go into an individual thing and like see all the information about it. The wiki allows us to do that because either I can do it or someone else can do it. I'd never be able to keep up on my own. I always wanted you to be able to click like any individual of the hit song collection CDs, and like learn more about it beyond just a basic listing for it. It also, as a wiki, allows us to do that stuff kind of faster than we could on the main website. Like if you wanted to build a new guide or something, like there's real design work and new styles that goes into that. I think even as recently as things in the rumor guide and the FAQs section, which is one of the newest things, like I was still asking you, like, Heath, I need a new style. I need to do like a call out box on this. Like that stuff's important. And I love that probably the most, but it does slow you down, especially when you're like hand coding all the styles for that. It just being wiki markup language really means that if you just want to do a table of blank character names, Tonkobon, you can just do it. Just upload the files and just code up a table and, copy and paste something you've already done and replace text in it. And like, you're good to go. You're done. It allows us to move faster on that kind of stuff and also go into granular minutia that doesn't have a section or a place elsewhere on the main website, whether that be, Dragon Quest manga or I don't know, all of Dr. Slump. Like that stuff hasn't had a place on the main website and probably will in due time. There'll likely be a lot of stuff where the main website sets it up and, it's a warm handoff over to the wiki page that just gets you over there and, more detail on that kind of stuff. That's what I envision the relationship between looking like.
Yes. And I think we're 100% on board with that because I've already had thoughts for years while I've been doing main website work, editing or changing something and going, you know what? I'm just going to have it where I have basic information on the main website, but it's eventually there will just be a link here that takes you to the same page on the wiki, which will have much more detail. I know at one point I think it may even still be up somewhere. It's hidden, but we had a character guide.
Yeah.
And I was going through it. And then we started working on the wiki and I literally just stopped.
Yeah. Like why?
All it's going to be is a table where I'm going to have this linked to go to the wiki. So it's kind of like, and that's, a character guide, I think it's an essential guide to have. It is one of the hardest things to create and maintain, especially with ongoing series, characters that come back later. If you have a one-off character, it's great. The Son Goku page alone is just maddening because there's so much when you have a character that's been around for so long, so much information, so much backstory, things that haven't happened yet. It just, how much do you cover?
Yeah.
Do you cover every transformation on this page? So these are the wheels that turn when we have these discussions of how do we do this? And to speak to what you were saying about, having between the main website and the wiki, and the main website is our old school way of doing it that ties us, I think you and I specifically, to how it's always been done. It truly is just the old school HTML editing way.
I mean, you still want to have a front door. You want to have news. Like the news and the podcast don't have a place on the wiki. Like you probably could force it in there, but that doesn't make sense to do. It makes more sense, at least to me, to have a broader thing that then has all these little dangly pieces off of it.
And in my mind, especially like our guides that we have, I've always looked at those as if you and I are publishers working somewhere and like, we're going to print this thing. And so we want it to look nice and be functional. And it has that presentation to it along with the information so that you enjoy going to it, using it. Whereas a wiki is more of a user-friendly editing software. It has its limitations from a stylistic standpoint, but from an information standpoint, it is fantastic and does much more than what we can do as far as linkability between different sections and characters, where you can read, say, a summary, and every character, every attack, every item, place, like they can all just be linkable. And so as you're reading and you want more information, you can hop over here, hop over there. That's so much harder for us to do on the main website.
Yeah, we have to code
because it does
individually
require us to go find it, get the actual full URL. Like from the back end side of things, it's just more difficult. Which when I first launched Kanzenshuu, that was actually my goal, was to try to create everything kind of like a wiki that was linkable. And we kind of structured it that way, but we quickly realized how difficult that would be to even try to integrate through, say, PHP or something, a scripting that would make that possible. And also, it already existed on Wikipedia.
Sure. Yep.
To end this, I'm just very excited and thrilled that we've made it this far. It's kind of like a dream come true, where we started this so long ago. It just feels like, oh, we've just kind of been going. It's a thing. And now it's actually kind of a reality, which is a relief.
Yeah. I think you're truly finally going to see and understand the difference and the distinction between things like the really narrative curated guides on the main website, things like the literal guides, but the aforementioned rumor guide and the FAQs, versus something like, list of compilation volumes of Akira Toriyama manga. Like, I just want the raw facts, the list that shows me exactly what it is, and then I just go and I find it and I've got the information. Like, they serve two different purposes, and I'm glad that we'll have both. What I want to close this out on is really just I say close out, but we're going to chat with a whole bunch of different editors. You got a lot more to listen to, folks. But at least here, Heath, with you, what to expect, as a reader, a visitor of Kanzenshuu, if you're going to check out the wiki. I think I'm desperately trying to think of a third A, and that's no ads, no AI bullshit, no, I don't have a third A. I need help. Everyone help me out. Let's figure out what that is, and we'll turn that into a thing. But yeah, like, this is truly an extension of the site. We're doing it the way almost no one else does out there. We do it because we love it, because we have to. There's no ads on the site. We're going to try to keep it that way as long as goddamn possible. If you want to help out, again, patreon.com/Kanzenshuu. Just help us keep the lights on every month. It makes such a big difference. It allows us to have a site that doesn't have a banner ad at the top, a video ad that loads down in the corner, another ad that loads down in the other corner. No one wants that. You can't use the rest of the fucking internet because of this stuff. You know that when you visit a site on Kanzenshuu, other than when you're not logged in on the forum, you're good to go and you're not going to have any problems. No AI bullshit. Heath, it's up now. Maybe folks have seen it, but we found, I love this particular badge. We've got a 100% human made, no AI used badge on our site. This comes from, is it amikaza.com? Click through on the banner there on the site. You can learn about it. I just think that's so important, especially in an era when these AI slop models, they're stealing all of our work. They put hundreds of thousands requests on our server that makes it slow for you and a nightmare for us. Fuck those guys. Fuck everything they stand for. None of that shit on our site. Everything that you see on our site, written by an actual person who picked up an actual fucking book or put in a DVD or goddamn it, a VHS tape and took screenshots of their own, translated things on their own, transcribed things on their own, because that's the way you fucking do it. I feel so goddamn strongly about this. And I'm so psyched that we have a thing in this era of the internet that can take a stand against that bullshit. And I will take a stand against that bullshit every moment of every day. God damn it. I fucking hate it, Heath.
I'm 100% on board with that. It drives me crazy. So when you asked if we could put the badge on, I was more than willing to do it.
Help me figure out a third A. No ads, no AI bullshit. I don't know. No, we can't say no alcohol because there's like a load-bearing whiskey bottle somewhere along the way in a server rack somewhere. Is. Oh, man. That's kind of where I'm at, is like when you visit this wiki, it is truly another extension of the site. Everything you've come to expect, whether you like it or not. And there might be some not in there. It is truly, it's the third pillar of Kanzenshuu. We've got the main website. We've got, I guess it's four. We've got the main website. We've got the forum. We've got the podcast. Now we have the wiki. It's all there.
There you go.
We've brought it all together. Look, it's not finished. It's never going to be finished. Like, We don't list out all the individual items in Xenoverse 2. I'm sorry, I don't give a shit right now. There's more important things for me to write about. I have really focused on like Heath, the way we've always run the website as a whole. Like, I need this information. I can't find it anywhere else. I almost can't even find some of it on Japanese sites. I've got to do it myself. And so sometimes that means you spend $300 on a box of magazines and, you just get stuff in.
It definitely does.
Like, I love it so much. Like, this fuels me so much.
And that's what I was going to say. To make sure that you don't burn out, it is so much nicer to work on something that you enjoy, that you have a passion for, than, well, I guess I'm going to make this page because somebody else wants it and I don't care. You can do that every once in a while, but if you did every single page, it sucks.
The quintessential example for me was Dragon Ball Daima, and doing no one asked me to do this, but I felt like I had to, was checking the trailer against the final animation from the episode and looking for animation differences. If that show was 21 episodes, I would have jumped out a window.
I think at one point when I was like, Mike, I think this might be 24 episodes. You're like, no, it's not.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
I was like, okay.
But it also gets into, I think you'll hear this, like the wiki really does allow you to just jump from project to project. Like, whatever my completely undiagnosed brain is doing on any given day, I can just be a slave to it and just work on that instead. And progress is still being made along the way. So I'm working out a lot of stuff. This is my therapy session, Heath. I'm not sure if you've realized it. It's both therapy and diagnoses all in one.
I'll send you my invoice.
Okay. Heath, closing thoughts on the launch of the wiki before I start transferring over to not all of, but a variety of our esteemed editors here.
Well, final thoughts, really, it's just, I hope everybody enjoys it. I hope it's worthwhile and you at least get something out of it. At the end of the day, it's there for informational purposes. We get to enjoy ourselves on the back end of it and, have all these fun discussions and everything behind the scenes. But really, a lot of what we do selfishly is for ourselves, but really it's for everybody else too. It's always been our main theme, kind of our driving force to share with the masses. I mean, when we have information, we share it. We have always believed in that information should be free. We don't want it behind a paywall. We want to give it to everyone and make it as accessible as possible. And that's what the wiki is going to really help us do. And so I just hope everybody enjoys it.
All right. Well, there you go. Folks, I have been Mike. That has been Heath. We got a lot more in store for you this episode. I'm going to continue chatting with a variety of Kanzenshuu wiki editors. Please enjoy. And I'll see you at the very, very end to wrap things up. You know what? Maybe I'll keep Heath around and we'll wrap things up on the other end of it. So enjoy, and I'll see you, in a couple hours. So when people hear this, Jake, it will probably be April 1st. It's likely when I'm going to be putting this up. This is the first one I'm recording. And I love it because we're in person. Yeah. And I rarely get a chance to do this and to look someone in the face, be like, all right, what the fuck are we doing?
Truly.
And I don't know my structure for these yet. So you're my test bed for this. So April 1st, it's been 700 years since we decided we were going to make this wiki. And, it was only a few months ago that I said, all right, fuck it, we're ripping off the Band-Aid. Let's just put this thing live. How do you feel?
I'm feeling good. I love seeing the amount of passion and time put in by fans who just want to contribute to having an easy to access source of information. And it's when you look at the scope of it, it's like, whoa.
Oh shit.
Oh, what did we get ourselves into? Really, I just see the undiluted efforts from everyone. Just it really moves me, and I can't believe personally, without getting too much into the weeds of it, I'm just beside myself that I'm even a part of this.
tell me a little bit about what you've been working on for years.
Sure. Yeah. And it's a project in and of itself, but even though I really wanted to be a side, like, oh, cool, I wonder what this is kind of feeling thing. And then you dive in and it's like, oh, it's all here. But I am primarily responsible for cataloging the US home releases of all the Dragon Ball media. I can just say, really.
I mean, it's everything, because I think back to, I still rely on the spreadsheet you made for like some of the VHS release dates and other things in there. Like, yeah, we have it on the site, but actually for me, sometimes it's easier to go to your spreadsheet.
That was the intent.
There. Yeah. We're flush with spreadsheets. You've got that. I've got a Psycho Jump spreadsheet. Ken's got a spreadsheet and stuff. I mean, it's everything. It is VHS, it's DVD, but I mean, what I love about that is, in particular, when I first made the DVD guide on Kanzenshuu EX, I always envisioned it as, hey, eventually you're going to be able to click into like Trunks' Mysterious Youth. Tell me what's on that DVD beyond just these episodes. I want to know what the extras are. I want to know what, like, the internal, like the label when you pop it into a computer, like what's the label on it? Like those kinds of weird esoteric things about it. And I just never got around to it because the home releases, they never stopped, but they also kept changing. Like we went from the single, if it was just the single discs, I probably would have been able to do that by myself at some point. But then we got the orange bricks and we got, season sets beyond that. It just became too much. But I always wanted to be able to look up Captain Ginyu Double Cross and like really learn about that individual thing. And this has allowed that to happen. It still starts with like the main catalog listings of all the stuff though. So tell me about, like, there's a page for the orange bricks. There's a page for the the blue bricks, the green bricks, like all the bricks in there. So tell me about your thought process for, I'm going to make these pages. What do I want to put on there? What's important? How did it come to be for you?
Well, I have to start it off with a shout out to our great Therese. How that actually began was just one day she put out a request out there of like, hey, does anyone have this insert for this Dragon Ball DVD?
Oh my God. Yeah.
I was like, no, I got that. No one else is saying anything, so I guess hey. So we got to talking, and we were talking about working on Wiki stuff, and one conversation led to another, and I was on the team. I think it was mostly on her side of doing some really cool stuff on her own.
Yeah.
And that she didn't really want to kind of deal with that. And I was like, well, I'm pretty familiar with these, so I think I can give that a shot. I really don't mind doing this. I do data entry as a job, so that's cool to me. But yeah, going into it and really looking at what I want people to see and understand and really learn is overall, over time, there have been a lot of releases of Dragon Ball, and more than most other properties, and people can get really lost in the weeds on that. And what I would hope to achieve with this is an easy way for someone to click through and be like, okay, what was this about? What was going on at the time? And what made this release unique? And why should I even care? Having that information readily available of what the packaging looks like, what was in the DVD inserts for anyone that was like growing up with this stuff, and they see these episode entries and they're not sure if that's the version that they grew up with. Hey, at least we have something to click on to look at that. I would say Dragon Ball, out of most other shows, has this exhaustive history of releases that have differences and quirks between them all.
Yeah.
So being able to just kind of like sort that out and weed through that for anyone to just kind of access and see at any given point is my ultimate goal. And I have to say, you mentioned your website entries on that earlier. That was a big inspiration because I was reading those all those years back, and I was like, not seeing anyone else. I've seen some fan sites catalog stuff like this, but I'm not seeing anyone else do this to this point. And in the mid 2000s, there was a lot happening. Now fast forward, 20 years.
I actually don't know anymore. I was just looking through it the other day myself, trying to understand the difference between like the 30th anniversary release and whatever individual repackagings of those came out. Because I lost the thread on that stuff on the main site.
Yeah.
Whereas like it just got to be, I mean, I stopped buying them out of principle too, because like these were not good. Like I stopped buying the orange bricks, then I was able to get the dragon boxes, and then I honestly stopped after that point. I think I bought the first of the season Blu-ray sets to give it a solid chance, give it a review. Like, all right, if this is what we're doing, I gotta at least know what we're talking about. Because then we had the canceled level sets before that too. Yeah. So it's like, all right, we're canceling things, we're releasing thing that is this, but not quite this. And like, I just said, fuck it. I can't support this anymore. I already got the one that I want. So it was important for me to know that someone else, even if you weren't going to financially support it yourself, still care enough about it to say, here's what this was. Because I couldn't do it anymore myself.
Mm-hmm. And for anyone listening and heard Mike rattling off all those names of those labels of the sets, the level sets, and the 30th anniversary, like, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Anyone would think that. Like, I don't know what the hell this guy is talking about. And that's kind of the point. It's really annoying that, especially in this side of the world, anyone would have to keep track of that. And it really sucks being terminally online and looking through comment sections on anything Dragon Ball related. It could be fan art, it could be a clip from the show, it could be like, man, I love this part. There'll be people in there talking about stuff like dub versus sub, or this version that they grew up with, or this one over that one, and then you get into the weeds of what release that was. And I grew up with the Walmart orange brick, and that frustration is what is fueling me right now. Of like, I hope this information gets out there to somebody, anybody, to read up on what we've been dealing with and how maybe we can go forward.
Will the Walmart ones be there where like they have the top 10 best fight scenes or whatever?
The Walmart ones will be there, and they will be there until the end of time. They will be on all shelves until this planet explodes.
I have so many different directions, and obviously there's going to be a lot more people chatting too. So I don't want to take too much time from you, but I have you in person. Like it's such a different experience.
I love being the guinea pig
to be able to talk about this in person too. We were talking about this a little bit upstairs over dinner, but just the anticipated reaction to it. Like I always knew from the start, like it's a focus on the original Japanese version. So you're already got that hurdle there of someone's looking up PyCon and they're going to see an article redirection, taking them to PyCon. Like you got to deal with that first. But I also, the example I always go to for whatever reason, it's just on my mind because you were talking about Cashman, was Big Bang Attack. You're going to look up Big Bang Attack and you're not going to see anything other than Ken's like initial like attack listing. Like there is minutia. Jake, turn around and off the shelf behind you that way, on the right second shelf, on top of the film anime comics, is like a blue book and a red book. Nope, next shelf down. Yeah, those. Just grab those two books. These are like the giveaway books from Jump Festa 2024 and 2025. Who the fuck cares about these? But they were promotional books that were given away, and there's a chapter of Dragon Ball Super in there, and I wanted someone to know.
They must be documented.
This exists.
Yes.
This is out there. And if you come across it on like an auction listing or something, like that's the weird ass bullshit that is going to be in this wiki. And that's the stuff that has a full page already.
And I want to be super duper clear about what I was describing about what my job is on the site, what Mike is talking about, and what we're trying to focus on is way more like I consider what I'm doing a very niche side thing of like, I hope this is properly documented, but there's so much other cool stuff that really needs to be focused on and talked about. And the wiki being focused on that original Japanese version. I'm not even that much of a dub fan, but I do have a lot of knowledge on it. So that's where I'm trying to put my effort.
But I think these are two sides of the same coin, where this doesn't exist to the extent that I want it to be for you in the home video. For me, this doesn't exist at all.
Yeah.
Online.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. Like I could do so many examples of this. So under my headphones right here, this is the Choose Your Own Adventure novelization of the first Dragon Quest.
Oh, wow.
And what got me going fucking crazy about this was I was looking at the illustrations in it. Let's see if I can find a really cool one. Like this is the hero holding up like one of the Loto's items. And I was like, oh, who drew this? Because it's not Toriyama.
Yeah.
It's a manga artist named Shinpei Ito, who is a well-renowned artist in his own right that has his own series. there were no search results for this stuff online. I'm like, all right, I'm running the fucking Dragon Ball wiki. Dragon Quest is Toriyama related.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't exist on any other wiki. I better write this down while I'm thinking of it because, well, for starters, me in 20 years is going to look for this and not know where to find it. I'm glad I wrote it in the past. I just hope there's someone else down the road that's like, hey, I got this book. Who drew this? Why? Who are they?
Yeah, you summarized it perfectly.
If Mike won't do it, who will?
I said a lot around the house. It can be the dishes. It can be Dragon Ball wiki.
If Mike can't drink this beer, who's gonna?
What are you, so with all that in mind, what are you anticipating as like the Twitter threads you see out there? Like, oh, the Kanzenshuu wiki's open. This fucking sucks. Look at what they have here. Like, what do you think?
Vegeta with an eye. Get out of here.
Man, I mean, I hate to say any publicity is good publicity. I mean, I personally just want this information accessible. Like I love onboarding anybody who has a genuine interest of like, hey, I heard Dragon Ball was cool. I don't know much about it. I know it was on TV a while ago. What should I do to get into it? And I mean, besides the fact that the landscape of the US side of things is a nightmare to try to figure out, having a proper place to go actually refer to information is really helpful. So, so when it comes out, when it's launched, and it is launched by the time people are listening to this, I would hope that folks are just feeling exploratory.
Me too.
You know, I feel like clicking on stuff. I feel like maybe learning something cool about this franchise that I didn't know before. Maybe an attack name that I didn't realize was an actual thing. I want everyone to take away at least one new thing with them when they're like, man, someone saw this and wrote it down for me.
I wrote it down for me.
Well,
me, Mike.
Primarily
personally.
Mike. But for me to discover. Who knows how it'll be received? I mean, honestly, the process of thinking of like, say I'm a random internet troll and I'm like, oh man, they don't even have the episodes that Yamcha played baseball in. All right. I mean, hey, reach out to us. You got a source? It might take me a half an hour to put it up.
Right.
You know? Like, I hope there's a little bit of respect in that kind of sentiment of like, hey, there's this thing I would really like to see on there, and I'm kind of bummed it's not. I hope that people aren't looking at it as like, man, this site doesn't even have a power level guide, so it's
already on the site. It's done.
Oh shit.
Well, that's a main site versus wiki distinction. But I want to hone in on what you said there. Is like, hey, it would be cool if it had this. Yeah. I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know what you want. I only know what I want because I'm very self-serving in that respect. I would love to hear those other ideas. I want to see what sparks the ideas, what sparks the excitement, and what I learned that people are interested in.
Right.
I might not make it, but I want to know what you're interested in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's not launching complete.
What is complete? That's part of what we're talking about too.
It'll never be complete.
How would you define that? Is it, every episode, every attack? Okay, but what about every manga volume? Okay, but what about every this, every that? What about every issue of V-Jump? I'm gonna try. I don't know.
I mean, I could foresee some like achievables in the future of like, hey everyone, like every episode is now up on the site, or like we have like complete. Oh man, I'm gonna really. This is not a good idea for me to put it out there, but I am hoping to get up like, for example, I want a table chart of all of the redubbed actors in the first few orange boxes. Anything that was changed between I think it was the TV broadcast of Ultimate Uncut to the orange box re-release. There were a few differences in who played those. So it's like the little stuff like that. But I'm also trying to catalog like every episode's like credits for the dub side. And like that just takes a lot of time, but that's what it comes down to. It's like, what is complete? How deep can we go? There are some horrors of like what Therese has been cooking on like some stuff with the soundtrack. So it's all really cool and interesting stuff, but we're just people. We're trying to do it.
So let me ask you, maybe this can be the thing, is I just hope someone finds one cool thing. What's one cool thing that you notice? And maybe it's going to be recency bias. You're looking through the recent changes list, but like, what's a cool thing you saw that you didn't know or you learned, or just like, oh, this person's working on this. That's cool. Putting you on the spot.
I was about to say, it's a really good question because I'm on the Discord a lot. So like, everything that anything Golden PSP is doing, I think is in that line of also catering to me as well, because there's a lot of game stuff for Dragon Ball that I don't know. And I think there are a lot of cool things about Dragon Ball games that a lot of people don't know about, maybe because they didn't come out here or because not too many people played them. But I do think there's a lot of potential for overlap of interests of, this is a Dragon Ball wiki, but like, what if someone was interested in like the game history of Dimps or the GBA games that they grew up with, or stuff like that. I'm always like, oh man, I wouldn't have learned about this otherwise if someone didn't dive in there and do this themselves.
Just cool stuff, like even just ripping the graphics and everything. Like he did a lot of that stuff so many years ago that wasn't live anywhere. So he's like, I'm just gonna put this out on Twitter. I'm like, yeah, man, just go for it. Just put it out there. It's gonna get out there to some degree. So I'm glad he put it out there. In addition to, at least here it has a home, like a long living home that people can refer back to. All right.
And not to toot your own horn too much, I don't know who actually devised the front page, but that is a clean home page where you can see all those categories. And I love seeing that like techniques are like right there as well. I feel like that's at least when I was a kid, that was something that I was doodling a lot. I was doing like stick figure drawings of all these different like attacks and techniques. So like just going in there and seeing the lists of all the different Kamehamehas and all the different transformations, that just like satisfies something in my brain where I'm just like, oh, it's all here.
Yeah.
What if they got, they got that thing. So,
I said one last thing. This will be the one last thing. And this is another thing we were talking about earlier is just, there's actual navigation there. And I know a lot of wikis do have this, but there's two sides of a wiki, and that's, I anticipate a lot of people are just going to go up to the search bar, just throw something in and just look for it there. But I also see it as like, it is its own full like sub website, and I need some guidance on where to go. Like what even is there in here for me to search? So maybe that can give someone a guide on, like, there's stuff in there that honestly doesn't exist anywhere else. So I hope that gives people kind of like this guiding force of cool stuff to look at and look for.
Yeah, that's what's guiding me and the team.
Cool. Jake, thank you.
Thank you.
I am excited to welcome to the conversation someone that has been a follower, a fan, a friend of the site for a very long time. We'll get to that in a second. Zephyr, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit, we're going to get to wiki stuff in a minute here, but I think back, like I know your name forever as being just out there. Tell me a little bit about your history with Kanzenshuu and probably pre-Kanzenshuu days. Like, where did you come from? Where did you come in?
Let's see. Okay, so I was probably like 6 years old when I first caught Dragon Ball Z on Toonami. I remember distinctly thinking, this looks really dumb. And I don't know how or why I think it must have been a promo that I saw, and I was like, this looks kind of dumb. But I started watching it, and that immediately changed. I was hooked right away. I remember watching seasons one, quote unquote, seasons 1 and 2 loop. Like I've like looked into it and done the math. They looped like 5 times, I think, before they continued with the in-house cast. So yeah, I've been a fan since then, pretty much. I ended up stumbling onto Kanzenshuu EX at some point on the internet, just like, I think it was the transformation guide that I first found.
Man, that brought in so many people. I'm kind of bummed that I don't have like a modern version of it, because that was such a key entry point for folks.
I'm sure there'll eventually,
Yeah.
But yeah, I stumbled onto, I don't remember, I wanted to join the forums, but I could not figure out how. I don't know why. I think it was, I went to join the forums and there were all the rules, and I was like, oh, well, how do I join? But eventually, a couple years later, I figured out you just keep scrolling and then you click one more stage in. So then I joined, and I was a dubby back then. I did not like the Japanese cast, and within like a year I was fully converted.
Yeah.
And yeah, been here ever since.
All right, so that's your background on the site. So here we are many years, some could say decades later, and we've got you finally working on the wiki. I say finally because it's like extremely recent. You're probably one of the like newest, oldest people, if that's the best way to phrase it.
Yeah, it always seemed like a cool thing to be part of, but there was never anything I thought of where I could be like, this is the thing I want to do to contribute to it. Took me a while to, I guess, fabricate my own niche, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I guess we'll get into here soon.
Yeah. Well, let's just do it now. Tell me about what you're working on, because I saw it and I was like, oh shit. Well, actually let's go back even further. Tell me about the day that you said, hey, is this a thing that anyone is doing or could do?
The thing I'm doing is the real world timeline, I'm calling it. The background for that is kind of like I've always enjoyed looking at and constructing my own timelines, whether they're about like fictional things or real things. Like in school, I'd always love to open up like the science or the history textbook and like see like a timeline of like this empire or all of these empires or the evolution of like life or taxonomic trees and stuff like that. Like I love seeing data arranged like that, right?
Yeah.
It's cool to see a series of events outlined in chronological order. And my inspiration for making this one for Dragon Ball kind of comes from two different places. The first one is from trying to appreciate Dragon Ball's roots and like seeing where it comes from on the one hand. And on the other hand, wanting to be able to like simulate the ride, so to speak, that would have been like consuming Dragon Ball as it was first coming out during that original run. So like, I guess I could start with like the first one where that comes from. Well, I'll start with the ride. Okay, so like most Dragon Ball fans, I wasn't around to read and watch it as it came out, but I was for the revival run, and that was really fun watching like all the chapters, all the episodes, all the films, all the interviews come out, and not like in a clear chronological or tidy order. It was like all haphazard, and it was really fun how one of those things would come out, and that would inform like our speculation and expectations for the next thing that would come out, right? And that's not something that really gets captured on like a lot of the watch or read guides that I'll see online. Like those are interested in more of like a more straightforward, like this arc happens, then this arc happens. And that makes sense. Like I think most newcomers are going to want that sort of watch guide. But some of us are freaks. And so something happened to me during COVID. I started watching Star Trek The Next Generation. And it didn't take me long to realize that Deep Space Nine and Voyager are spin-offs of TNG with characters and plot lines that appear across all three shows. And it made me kind of want to try to approximate, to the best of my ability, the experience of watching those shows as they were coming out. Like you'd get through TNG and then you'd be partway through DS9 already, and then Worf and Chief O'Brien would show up over there, and that seems like that'd be cool to like appreciate that, to see the characters jump over. Whereas if you just watched all of TNG and then you watched all of DS9, I feel like that wouldn't quite hit the same, right? And so I made like a little spreadsheet timeline by checking Memory Alpha is the big Star Trek wiki, so I checked like dates there and like made a nice little easy to follow watch guide for myself. And now I'm doing the same thing right now with Buffy the Vampire Slayer and its spin-off show Angel.
That's the one. That's the one I lived through, because I remember watching those in real time as they were coming out. And it's always so funny when you go back. Man, I don't know if I can ever go back and do a rewatch of them now, especially with a lot of knowledge and hindsight and things that have happened. But yeah, it was always interesting going back to them being like, okay, so do I watch 2 and then 1? Do I watch all of this season and then all of this season? And then like, maybe do I watch all of it, but save one episode for the end? I feel like you have to go through, how did it actually air in real time in history? Like that is the canonical way to watch stuff for sure.
Yeah. And then with Dragon Ball especially, I have a buddy who's watching through, well, he read the manga and now he's watching through the anime, and I suggested to him to watch the films in specific spots when they
Yeah.
actually came out, and that's partly informed by knowing that the music first appeared in the movies,
Right.
and then would come over to the show. So from the perspective of wanting to appreciate the production of at least the music side, it's cool to see where the music first debuted in the franchise and then see the episodes where it came in later. Yeah, so that's column A of where the timeline is coming from and what I kind of
Okay.
want to enable with it, right?
Yeah.
Then there's the other part, which is less actually directly Dragon Ball related. And to give some context for that, so when I was studying philosophy, I took a class called Exploring the Canon. Funny word here on a Dragon Ball podcast. But so there's a canon of Western philosophers who the discipline widely considers the most important. And these are the big names most people, a lot of people outside the discipline will have heard of, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates,
Sure.
Descartes. And so Descartes' one of them. He's famous for the phrase "I think, therefore I am," which comes from a book of text of his called the Meditations. And one thing we learned in that class is that a lot of what he's doing in the Meditations was riffing on an existing tradition. And one of the people in that tradition was a Spanish nun named Teresa of Avila. And so we read parts of the Meditations, and then we read parts of her work, and saw exactly how he was kind of riffing on and changing and being inspired by and building on what she did. And then, the thrust of the class was, all right, now pick your own canonical philosopher you like and dig into some of their less than canonical intellectual connections. Naturally, in addition to doing all that, I applied this idea to other areas of interest, like video games, music, religious texts, and eventually, of course, Dragon Ball. So Sonic's my favorite video game series, so I really like digging into the gameplay mechanics of those original games and seeing what sorts of mechanics were around at the time and how did they play with those to result in that thing. So I want a timeline that rounds up all of Dragon Ball's known antecedents, like Dr. Slump, Fist of the North Star, Journey to the West, Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee movies, etc.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so I can already picture on there, you're going to have Jackie Chan, you're going to have Bruce Lee, you're going to have Alien, you're going to have Terminator, all those things make perfect sense to list along the way. It's we know that they informed and Toriyama took inspiration from those things. And it's going to be really cool to see, in real time, in tables and columns and rows, just how they all play out.
And then I'm tracking Toriyama's age each year too, so we can see how old he was when this came out, how old he was when that came out. But I also want to go deeper with it. What are Journey to the West's antecedents? Where did that come from?
Oh boy, yeah.
What about the historical development of Dragon Ball's power system and the value system that the martial artists have that Dragon Ball's riffing on? That would be really cool to see all in one place. The timeline idea I have in my head, and I do have a spreadsheet that I've already made with a bunch of this on there. So it's kind of it's a fusion of those two ideas. And so in making this page for the wiki, it's kind of okay, well, what things from that timeline are worthy of inclusion on the wiki? And I'm definitely not going to include everything because there's some very out there stuff, but I do want to have it be a little more comprehensive than most people are probably expecting.
Yeah. You got me thinking, and there's something I've always wanted to learn more about and go into is I know Journey to the West very well. I know Wukong very well, but Hanuman from Indian mythology predates Wukong and really informed him. And that stuff never mind that Wukong is barely known in the greater Dragon Ball fandom. You can imagine all these literary and mythological predecessors are barely known too. I'd love to. You can just see the thousands of years, not thousands, maybe hundreds of years that pass between all these ideas. I love that so much.
Yeah, and I think the farthest back I'm planning to go is the Vedic religion in India, because it was kind of out of that tradition that Buddhism eventually cropped up.
Right.
So, and then obviously ancient Chinese religion, where did Taoism, what was the I guess the backdrop that emerged out of?
God, this stuff is so cool. I already know that you're I don't want to say you're running into problems, but tell me a little bit about like you started this and then you said to me like, "Uh-oh, I'm out of rows."
Yeah, so I've never, done wikiing before, so I'm kind of learning as I'm doing. And the first
Yeah.
thing I did was I looked at the Dragon World timeline that we already had.
Yeah.
And that had like a nice little table, and I was like, okay, so if I, look at how this table is made and I just, expand it to the different things I want to do with it. So each row can have you can have as many rows and columns as you want. Each when you have like a one row with 5 columns, that's 5 cells.
Right.
And I was curious how big of a table I could make, and the table can only have, I think, like 1,000 cells. And if I have 5 columns, then that means there's only 200 rows. And I'm trying to be like aggressively comprehensive with this, and so I was originally trying to have just one massive table, but that's not going to work. So
Yeah.
it's going to be multiple tables, but the real question is going to end up being, how many tables am I going to have?
I love
And if
that.
I am trying to be as insane with this as I want to be, I want to have like every chapter and episode, at least of Dragon Ball, but definitely every chapter of Dr. Slump. And that's going to be like each year is going to eventually need its own table, if not each month. And if the site can handle it, I would love to do that.
I love that too. I mean, I'm the kind of person like, yeah, give me all that shit on one page. Just like, I just want to scroll forever. I don't want to, I don't need page views. Like there's nothing, I don't get anything out of people clicking more things. So let's throw it all on one page. So yeah, I'm curious to see how big we can build this before it breaks.
Yeah, and another idea I have is like this is going to have so much in it that I think maybe just above the full deep one, I have kind of like a shorter one, a more
Sure.
abridged one with just the highlights. Maybe one that just starts with Journey to the West and has like most of the main things that we know for a fact that were like directly influential on Dragon Ball. And then like the later, like a little bit farther down, you'll get the full one that goes into the background of like Buddhist and Taoist mythology and stuff like that.
Oh, I have a couple more questions for you on this. One is, so we're recording this. I mean, when folks listen to this, theoretically, they're listening to this on April 1st or shortly thereafter. And surprise, the wiki's out. You can look at it right now. We're recording on March 2nd right now. So what do you expect to get yourself through in the next month on this project?
Oh man. So what I'm hoping to do by the end of the month is get all the information that I have on my personal spreadsheet timeline that I think is worth putting on the wiki. I want to have it on the wiki in that time with the wiki's timeline. And so again, there's a lot that won't make it on there, so that will make it a bit easier. But I want to at least have all the information there. I don't know if I'm also going to be able to get it all properly sourced by then, but I want to try that too.
Well, then I have two last questions for you, and they are kind of a bit broader. One is, what cool stuff do you see on the wiki right now? Because you're in there and you can look around. You can look at whatever you want. What cool stuff is there?
I mean, this is, pertinent to the timeline thing too. It was really, really nice because like on the site, it has, the exact date that each chapter of Dragon Ball came out. So I was able to do that. But to my surprise, the wiki already has all of that for Dr. Slump as well.
Yeah.
So that was a humongous help. Like that is probably the most exciting thing to me that's like already on there. But like it's cool seeing other Toriyama one shots. I noticed a box like I don't know if box is the right word, that's really, really broad, but it like when you get to the bottom of a wiki page and there's like external links, like a box of external links for like various fan sites, like notable fan sites. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. There's some cool stuff in there. All right, then I guess maybe this is a two-part question, and this will wrap us up here. What do you think the expectations are for Kanzenshuu's wiki? And then based on that, what do you think the reaction is going to be when people actually get a chance to look at this in a month?
Okay, so it's funny because I'm also on Sonic Retro, and they also have a wiki, and they're probably the Sonic website and community that's like as much of a comparable to they have the same battle power as Kanzenshuu, let's say.
All right, perfect.
We're site scaling here.
I didn't know this was a thing. I'm excited. All right.
So they also have a wiki, and there's a thread open on the site right now called like, why don't you contribute to the wiki? And in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, I'm contributing to this other one right now. But like in that thread, someone mentioned like, oh, no one even cares about the Kanzenshuu wiki anymore. They just go to the Dragon Ball wiki. So I think one of the expectations that people have is that it's never coming out and it's never actually happening. So that's going to make it really, really funny when it comes out.
Yeah.
I think so. That's going to be like a pleasant surprise. I think. I guess the other side of that coin, though, is I think people probably have like very lofty expectations for the wiki. And I don't know if it's going to live up to those expectations, but like, I don't know. When I first got access to the wiki and I could actually see it, I was like, oh, this is very clean. This is nice.
Yeah.
Even if it's not complete yet, like it's looking good.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. And I'm probably going to say this across multiple little interviews I'm doing with folks is we took so long, but I mean, what is long in a Kanzenshuu timeline, really? But we've taken so long that people have had, I don't want to say decades, but maybe at least 16 years or so, 15 years to build up in their minds like, oh, what would that be? Hold on, 2012, okay, so we're like 14 years to build up in their minds like, hey, what could this be? What will it be? What have they been doing all this time? And, there were years where like just nothing happened. It's just how the project went. But I think there is going to be some very strong, oh, this is awesome. Oh, this doesn't have jack shit for what I want in here. And I'm looking forward to that because I just think that'll be funny.
That will be funny. I think also if once people see that it's real and they see like the quality of it, I imagine that might potentially energize and motivate a lot of people to additional new people to get involved. And I think it might snowball from there. Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm hoping is we've had all these like little micro moments along the way of trying to engage and get some excitement to get some work going. And I think this is going to be a bigger moment of we're going to find the other people that I don't know about. They're like, hey, I've had this documentation project that I've been doing in Google Docs for 8 years. Can I throw it up on the wiki? Like, hell yeah, brother. Let's get that in there. Like those kinds of things. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We never know what other people are already working on that, we can pull things together.
All right. Zephyr, thanks so much. This was actually wonderful because it's the first time we've ever spoken in person like this. So I appreciate you taking the time, hopping on, chatting about this stuff, and just being a friend of the site for so many goddamn years. Just really appreciate that.
The site has done a lot for me also. Like just arguing about Dragon Ball has actually transformed like the way I think about art and a lot of things. I wouldn't be the person I am today without the site. So it's a great honor to be on the podcast here.
That's great. Thank you so much. I'm so psyched to chat once again after years. Although I was just telling you, it feels like yesterday. Truly, truly, truly feels like yesterday. Joe, you may see him around as JRP. You may see him around as a bunch of other things. Writing about old computer games. I just learned podcasting about British prime ministers. Would you like to know what I just listened to on my walk?
I don't know if I want to know. What did you listen to?
I listened to Britain in 1770, the story so far, ...
I'm flattered.
It was so much fun. Your son is adorable. Before we get into the Dragon Ball Wiki stuff, tell me a little bit about this show.
Oh, so my son's a nerd. It runs in the family, and he's a big history nerd. And so a couple of years ago, I mean, he was 10. He asked if, because he listened to history podcasts, of course, like you do.
Yeah.
And so he asked, hey, Dad, can we have our own history podcast? And he picked the topic, and I started researching. And, we've been running now for 2 years. We have a lot of episodes, and it is just so much fun. He is hilarious. He is the best co-host I could ask for. I will hold on to this moment because someday he's going to hate his parents.
Yeah.
And I'm at least going to have a record of the time where he enjoyed spending time with me. And that is so awesome. And, when a kid is 10, you expect them to have an interest for like a month. And he has held this interest pretty consistently now for the last 2 years. He tells his friends that he's a podcaster. We were just at a podcasting convention online last weekend. He had a ball. It is just, it is so great that we found like an outlet together, and I've learned a lot and he's learned some, and it's great.
It was so fun. And I got to say, just as a casual listener, it just so happened that this latest episode is like a recap that you can just jump into and just listen to, kind of ignoring the previous chronology. But now I'm like, well, what if I go back to the beginning and listen to this whole thing? I need something else to listen to. So thank you.
Well,
I have a new show.
I am totally flattered. But earlier episodes, a little rougher, but
hey, I know what that's
I think
like.
It's all good. I know you do.
Oh.
I've listened to them.
Oh boy. Hey, look, I was chatting with someone else on the show, and we were talking about how they've been around since before the podcast. And I was just thinking, like, I've already said this on the show, so apologies if you've heard it or haven't heard it yet. The period of time of which there was no podcast for this website is so minuscule compared to the time that there has been now. And yet that feels like, because it was the earliest days, it feels like such an eternity. Like, even just thinking about the 2 years of the syndication broadcast felt like a lifetime, because I was in high school at that time,
Oh, we were all young once.
Yeah.
We got better.
We did. I think so. I think you only get better with age. All right, man. Let's start talking about the wiki. What I love about talking about the wiki with you compared to some of the other folks is you did a shit ton of work years ago and then dipped. I mean, like, you've been podcasting with your son. You've got all your own articles you write. So I don't want anyone, and especially you, to take that. And I know you wouldn't take that as like, hey man, where you been? What are you doing? But I love that you built this huge foundation of stuff that's out there that people have been able to like refer to and build upon, and just kind of like continue onward from. I love that we've had the ability to just like cycle in and out, and when people get into things, just like drop everything they're doing and spend months working on some of these pages. So taking me back to the beginning of your work, walk me through like some of your projects, some of your favorite things that you worked on. What's in there from you? What's your stamp?
I was very random access, and I would just jump all over the place and did a whole bunch of stuff. A lot of what was going on at the time was, as you say, a lot of the scaffolding. We had assembled, because Kanzenshuu has like an amazing forum that, you and many others have posted some amazing things to. So a lot of it was like gathering up like links to all of the material that had already been written and needed to be updated, building those scaffolding pages for all of the episode recaps and character lists and all this stuff, right? There was a lot of that, and a lot of really basic stuff. It's watching the episodes over again and writing what happens, because you had a great summary on the website, but for a wiki you needed more, and you couldn't do it from memory. So it was a lot of fun. COVID happened, and then life got weird.
I mean, I really think about just how much everything just stalled out entirely at the time. It was like a weird time where I feel like it was almost like being in college again. It was like infinite free time, do whatever you want. And then also just this sitting, staring into the distance, unable to like function at all.
Yeah. It was rough for all of us, and many of us in different ways, but the deck got swept, and yeah. I'm sorry I didn't come back, but it wasn't for a lack of love.
No, I totally get it. When I look through what I appreciate, I'm sorry, I started a sentence and I'm like, let me talk about these 8 other things, because my mind is going so many different directions. I promise it's not Trumpism that's going on up in my brain. They're actually concrete thoughts, and I promise you there is a trail between them. I look through everything that you got up here on your user page. Everyone did such a good job of not just like doing work, but keeping track of the work they've done, where you can really go through and look at, all right, here's all the character pages I did, movie pages. What's interesting to me is when I think about some of the stuff you've done, it's like Dragon Ball SD and the Afterlife tournament for some reason is what sticks in my head.
Well, okay. I developed a little of a reputation for jumping in and getting too deep into stuff that didn't deserve it, but it was so fun. I'm going to stand on this soapbox for the end of time, and those first 3 chapters of Dragon Ball, or first 4 chapters of Dragon Ball SD, which have never been collected, are the best 4 chapters of Dragon Ball SD. And and I wanted to document those amongst other things. But yeah, and that Afterlife tournament, that was just fun because like every episode they'd have a different director, I assume, and they would just not have paid attention to what was in the previous episode. So, you know, characters appear and disappear, and the tournament makes no sense. But I mean, this is Dragon Ball filler, right? That's the type of fun you get into when you start looking at the filler. And what better place to do that than an all-encompassing Dragon Ball fan wiki?
Yeah, I love
that
it.
is accurate, unlike other ones.
Oh boy, tell me about it. It's so funny when you think back and you scroll through these lists and you think of like, oh, I remember when we were working on Plan to Eradicate the Science stuff. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I can dig up, you know, release dates for these things. And I remember some of those moments we had. I'm like, oh yeah, I found the poster for it. Here's a release date on it. And it's really quaint for me to think back about doing that and like only having so many V-Jump issues. And then I turn to the left. I'm like, oh no, I like wrong movement down here. I will die from these shelves falling over on me. Even just the last few years of how much has been accumulated. But to me, that like the work is cool, but I feel like we formed really fun memories in the process of doing it too, that people don't get out of just reading it.
You know, no one, perhaps other than you or I, can understand the sheer joy of reading a Discord chat where you have finally found an issue of something that you were looking for on eBay, and you could order it like that. Yeah. You know, finding sources, right? The one thing that really separates, of course, the Kanzenshuu mindset from other mindsets, right, is this intense desire to go back to sources and to be concrete about your data and to have imported all of this Japanese material so you could go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and the sharing of scans and how many millions of times I had to ask for a translation. You know, that's the kind of love labor that really went into the wiki. And, you know, I'm really excited to hear that it's going to be out there.
As I scroll through your list, and, you know, you spent a little time just kind of reliving the past here a little bit too, running through things. What did you notice about some of the stuff you had done? Like what other memories popped up for you as you scrolled through things?
You know, there was a couple things I didn't even need to scroll through, like memories that are just so vivid because I'm weird and some things stick in my brain. You know, I did a page on all of these real life references in Dragon Ball. Like, you know, every time they mentioned a real Bruce Lee movie or, you know, some random, Thai beverage or something, you know, trying to document all of those. Like, how did the movie The Goonies appear on the shelf in Kame House, right? It didn't come out yet. But one of the weird things that has stuck with me is that, you know, in the backgrounds on some of the oldest Dragon Ball episodes where clearly nobody cared, and, you know, where they would need to stick some text, and it didn't matter what the text was because no one was going to bother reading it anyway. And discovering with you and with some of the other folks on the wiki chat that it was the Aroha, right, which is this Buddhist poem that uses every letter of hiragana once. It's sort of like a neatly constructed Japanese poem, and they used it like lorem ipsum in the background of some of the scenes. Discovering that and then realizing what it was, and as a history geek and a little bit of a language geek, it was just so cool. That moment has stuck with me for all of these years because it's like finding out about lorem ipsum, but much cooler.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of what I was doing, I'm a little bit detail obsessed sometimes. And I think, if anything, that was my problem with the wiki, is I would get too deep into something and I'm like 3 days in to, researching some single scene in movie 7 and you're like, oh God, this isn't a good use of my time.
Hey, I would argue it's the best use of your time.
I forget which movie. It's the one before BoJack. It's the one that they go to the tournament. Oh God, that narrows it down. But there's all of these flags in the backgrounds, hundreds of flags. And I figured out what each one was, if it was a real country. And then I documented it. And that is really not a good use of anyone's time.
Yeah, I guess so. But
we got better.
Someone's going to read it and they're going to have a good time reading it. That's fun.
I also tracked down every numbered capsule in the series. So
Yeah, that was one of the early pages we used as a preview page because I thought it was just such a good example of like, here's the shit we're doing here. It's like and I think you can only do that when you're doing a very intentional, like, I'm not just going to read this. I'm going to read this and really critically think. It's like a step beyond proofreading where you focus on every letter of every word. I'm focusing on every idea that's on the page here. And is there something interesting here? And there almost always is.
Yeah. I mean, if there's one truism in which, again, it's so easy to get caught up in because you can dig so deep into everything. If there's one truism, is that every layer that you peel back in this story, right? Be it whether you're just reading the text or you're learning about, the development of the text and the editorial process or the conversion to anime or what little details they stuck in the background and what those details mean. Like every layer you can just pull back and you're almost always rewarded for doing so. Sometimes you realize, oh boy, the people that did the Afterlife tournament really didn't care. but sometimes you find real beauty, and it's always worth it to find out which.
Yeah. Let's chat a little bit about expectations here. I'm asking everyone this. I'm especially curious to hear your perspective here. So, we're about a month out from letting the public take a look at this, which we'll see because the site's actually getting DDoSed by ChatGPT right now. So I'm like desperately trying to reboot the server and look at pages as we're talking. Just running a website's a nightmare these days. But anyway, so we're about a month out from people actually being able to look at this. What do you think the reaction is going to be? There's like multiple levels to this too. There's we've been saying this is coming since we launched Kanzenshuu in 2012. There's been that wiki button up in the top that hasn't done anything. And then just the expectations for what kind of content is going to be in here. What do you think people are going to say and do once they get a look at this?
Oh, it's tricky because, I have not dug so deep into the amazing work that has happened since I stepped away. And I'm sorry about that. But you have a reputation for quality that is sort of unmatched in fandom, and that this will, I certainly hope, become the authoritative source for actual Dragon Ball information because the fandom needs it. I really think so. But not all fans are as stupidly detail oriented as I am, or maybe we are. But I am so excited for this to be coming out. I am so excited. And I really hope that the community comes together and sees what a labor of love over seemingly generations it is to pull this together. And certainly generations of wiki editors as one team build off the works of the prior team. I am so psyched. Yeah.
I'm also a little scared because I know I feel like I'm repeating myself, but for me, it's been multiple chats again, across multiple days and weeks and stuff. So who knows how it's going to sound when it's all strung together like this. But I know people are going to look and they're going to be like, there's not blank here. This place sucks. It doesn't have that. Like, but did you see the flags? Like, please look at the flags. That's all here.
Yeah, well, that will come. And the beauty of a wiki is that, the community that supports a wiki grows, so too does its value. And I don't know what your editorial policies are going to be, and we haven't chatted about it yet. So you can use the magic of editing to remove this piece. But I really think that what gaps exist. can be overcome with time, and just getting it out there and having it be a resource is going to be the largest motivation that anyone can have to continue to make it better. That's really exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just curious to know what people are looking for, because like we've been saying, we come up with our own pet projects and we go down rabbit hole after rabbit hole on stuff, and it's interesting to us, and maybe we'll convert people along the way of, no, actually this thing over here you never thought of, this is the cool stuff. But I do want to know what other people are looking for. Like, yeah, what gaps can we fill? What is not out there that should be? What is not being covered well elsewhere that I don't know about because I just didn't think about it. So
this is a fandom with animation nerds and Chinese folklore nerds and anime nerds and many other types of nerds, from ages 8 to, I hope, 80. Yeah. And they all will come with different needs and expectations. But, one thing that we all share is the love of this weird property that has been around now for a long time and keeps contradicting itself. But documenting that contradiction and really exploring it is just so fun.
Well, Joe, thank you for your time. I had a wonderful time catching up with you. It's been a hot minute since we talked. This was fun. And it was especially fun coming into this, having just listened to you and your son tell me all about British prime ministers. I want to give you one more chance to talk about that. If people enjoy what you had to say here, what should they go check out?
Yep, we are Prime Factors Podcast. You can find us on Apple and Spotify and all of your podcast platforms of choice. We're also on Blue Sky, so you can hunt us in any of those locations. We'll be so glad to have you.
Well, thanks again. And last question? What page should someone go check out?
Oh, I mean, the capsule list, clearly.
Capsule. All right, capsules. I am so happy to talk to you. This is really fun doing these little Wiki podcast chats. It's a lot of folks that I've been speaking to in text for years, but have never actually spoken to before. So this is cool. Kev Trev, welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I am psyched to chat with you because you are one of the people that I see every day. And I look at that recent changes page every goddamn day. And I love looking through and seeing everything that's going on. But we'll get to the wiki work in a little bit. As I've been doing with these chats and these folks, I just want to kind of give you a chance to riff yourself. Take me back to the beginning. How did you discover Dragon Ball yourself?
Yeah, well, I've been around for a while. Dragon Ball aired here in the Netherlands in 2000, and my cousin recommended it to me, so I started watching. And I started on the Nightmare to You episode.
Oh boy!
But somehow I still ended up a Japanese fan. So
that is, God, it's really hard for me to put myself in the shoes of someone watching that for the first time, being like, is this the coolest thing ever, or is this the worst thing ever? And well, I guess it got through somehow.
Well, I was already used to Power Rangers with their cringy dialogue, so
sure. Follow through, man. That's great. So, about how old were you when that came on, and then how did you find your way to Kanzenshuu as the years went on?
In 2000, I would have been 10 or 11. I was on the internet. I found Temple of Trunks because Trunks was my favorite character at the time.
Nice.
And through there, I think I found a link to Kanzenshuu X before there was a podcast.
Oh man, it's really funny thinking back. The podcast is so old at this point that there's actually only a tiny period of time when there was not a podcast. It's really only 98 to 2005 that span there. So, all right, let's start talking about you and the wiki and the work that you've been doing. I guess, what attracts you to doing this kind of stuff in the first place?
Well, I've always been good with languages. Learned to read before I started school. Always been good with reading, writing, spelling, everything. And I like documenting facts and statistics and stuff. So it's just kind of like my dream job, basically.
I love that. Yeah, we get all the right people. It's like I see this thing. I got to write it down. I just feel this need. I got to write it down. So run me through some of the stuff you've been doing. Again, to me, it's really interesting because it'll be like a character page, a manga page. I guess take me through the manga, the individual like chapter pages. That was one of your pet projects. What were you doing as you were going through kind of just like every individual chapter page?
Yeah, so my favorite thing about Dragon Ball is the original manga. So I visit those pages a lot. And then I saw these summaries with, they had no links in them and it looked kind of boring and empty. So I thought I'll add all these links and I'll fix typos while I'm at it and updating terminology like, Uranai Baba to Fortune Teller Crone.
Yeah.
And this year I decided, well, before the launch, I want to go all out and get this done.
And it's a lot. So, I mean, you're talking the 500 odd manga chapters. Then it really feels like it extends to other stuff too. Like I saw just recently, you've been on the Goku page. Is it a similar kind of work where it's like, hey, whatever I did over here, let me get that respective information over here, update the thing, or, oh, I just want to work on the techniques. Like what drives you beyond the manga chapter pages?
Well, characters is also my favorite thing about Dragon Ball. So, and I figured for the launch, Goku's page should have something on it.
Yeah.
Like a link to Sun Wukong for one thing.
That's actually really funny that there's a more robust Wukong page than there is a Goku page. I think this says something a lot about the kind of work we want to do on this wiki.
What surprised me on the wiki at first was I went to visit Piccolo's page and Vegeta's page, Future Trunks page, and they were all pretty much empty.
Yeah.
And I thought, no one's favorite character is Piccolo. No one went in here and did this.
Yeah.
So, well, I'll do it.
What else has surprised you about going through? And I guess take me back. When did you come on working on the wiki? You're one of the newer folks. Even the newer folks have been at this for quite some time.
It's already been 1.5 years almost.
Yeah, we've made a real big push in this last year or so. So then let me jump back. What other stuff has surprised you other than like, oh, geez, these main character pages have nothing on them? What else is interesting?
Well, it's fun to discover things you never knew existed. Like I was working on the character pages for Upa and Bora. And I remember they have a different introduction in the anime. So I checked that episode and something about a volcano. Turns out this volcano has a name, Mount Kanae. So I thought, well, I'll make the page for this volcano.
I love that stuff. But there's a lot of this just like incidental, like this volcano is a great idea. Just like this building or this city that's the kind of stuff that we'll go through. Like
the episode even mentions how far away the volcano is from Karin Tower. So, okay, nice detail.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that stuff. And it's probably interesting as you go through, like you discover maybe either with Wukong or something else, like you'll throw in some links like, oh, this is a blue link. This is not a red link. This is actually a page for this as opposed to this where there's not a page for this.
I like the things that you keep discovering, like the Numa Monjar and stuff, and the Pac-Man Cell comic.
Man, I'm really going down a rabbit hole. Like literally as we're recording this, I'm finally going through. I'm on the V-Jump page. I'm trying to replicate what I did on Psycho Jump, where I show like here are the series that are actually being serialized right now. And I thought I got the chapter 1 of this like the 800th Yu-Gi-Oh spin-off manga or whatever. I'm like, oh no, this is chapter 81 of like the Holy War arc of this series. And there's like 5 series before this. I'm like, motherfucker, I gotta go back over this bookshelf and figure out like where chapter 111 is, not chapter 1 of the third series. Yeah, it's just really fun going back through. And that's I think that's the fun for me is especially for V-Jump and Psycho Jump having these magazines for so many years. And I would exclusively flip to the Dragon Ball stuff. Like there are decades of really interesting content in these magazines that I have seen so many times. It actually reminds me a lot of, for Dragon Ball in particular, before I got into Dragon Ball, I was really into video games. I was reading Game Pro and EGM over here and how I would see Dragon Ball flipping through in like 1994, but not knowing or caring what it is. I'm having a similar thing here now where I'm going through like all this bullshit Yu-Gi-Oh spin-off manga. I'm like, what is this? Oh, this has been here for a decade. I should probably figure out what this one's called. So
yeah, that's how I started with Dragon Ball. It was like, this is a new popular thing. I don't care about it.
Yeah.
25 years later is my entire life.
Yeah. Tell me what you think. So as we're recording here, we're in early March. We're less than a month out from. It's less going live and more like stripping out one line of code from one file that then allows the public to just look at everything here. I guess that's going live. What do you think? I've been asking everyone this. What do you think the reaction is going to be when people finally get full access to what we have up here?
Well, it's going to come completely out of nowhere for a lot of people.
Yeah.
They might actually think it's an April Fool's prank like I did with Kanzenshuu initially.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. Yep.
I actually fell for that one back then.
You think they're going to be like, oh, they're only just opening it for a day just to stay, and then they're going to close it again and get back to work?
Yeah, I don't know. But I think they'll be disappointed that there's nothing for Broly or Vegeta. Or, I don't know.
Exactly. Everyone's got the same thought and response on that. I'm definitely worried about that, but I also think that's going to be really funny.
Well, I think it's interesting because they might ask for things that gives us direction to work.
Yeah, I like that because I get stuck on my pet projects, but that's also what drives me as well. Like if I don't care about what I'm doing, I'm never going to do it. But I certainly do want to know the other stuff that people are interested in, and maybe I'll work on that for a little bit, and it'll be fine. Whatever, I'll get it done, but it'll lead me to another discovery. I think that's the biggest thing that we've all had in working on this wiki is the discovery aspect of it. Is you work on one thing, you're like, oh yeah, this is fine, but holy cow, I didn't know about this over here, and this opens a whole new world for me.
Yeah, the rabbit holes are very fun.
Yeah. What do you want to work on next? Like what's in your future wheelhouse, you think?
Well, there is an interesting full circle kind of thing because I signed up to the forums 20 years ago and I found Kanzenshuu X through Temple of Trunks.
Yeah.
Trunks is for 20 years in the future.
Oh.
I am now 20 years in the future. So if I now work on the future Trunks page, that's kind of a full circle.
I like that a lot. That's a good plan. There's a lot to do there too, because like just future Trunks alone. Like,
I don't want to rewatch Super.
I was gonna say never mind Super, but just all the other stuff that he goes off into that he's a part of as a central character. Yeah, it's a lot. It's too much.
Yeah, that's why I start with the original manga focus and then expand from there.
Well, do you have any questions for me about the wiki and the work we're doing?
I guess since I've always also worked on the Legendary Super Warriors page for the Game Boy Color, there's one part called Legacy, which is empty at the moment, where I'm not sure what to put there. Do fan works count? Like people have taken the sprites and made stuff with that?
Yeah, I think so. It's always tough because, we're not Wikipedia, so we don't have to live up to whatever arbitrary, like notable public figures kind of thing, standards they have there. So I'm always up for kind of whatever. If it's interesting and it feels like it's made some kind of impact, what's the harm in linking to it? We're all about sharing things here, so why not share some of the cool work that other folks have done and taken and explored with this stuff?
Yeah, sure.
Well, that's it. So T minus a little less than a month. It's tough because it's like, all right, a month is 31 days. All right, well, if we subtract 3 days here or 4 weeks out, let's say we're a month out from this thing going live. I'm excited. I'm psyched for it. I'm super appreciative of everything you have done and will continue to do. Any final words for the listeners out there as they dive in? What do you want them to go check out?
Well, I wonder what will be done by the time this episode comes out.
What do you mean done? Everything?
Yeah, well, there's pages that I might end up working on between now and then.
Yeah, I'm definitely at a point where I'm like, oh man, all right. Scope creep is definitely a problem. Like, all right, what do I want to get done? There's like all this stuff. I'm considering like tentpole projects for me that would be cool to get done. I don't know. We'll see. But the cool thing about it is that it's up and it's not done. And I'm finally reckoning with that. It's just a living, breathing source of documentation. So the instant we go live, I'll probably still be working on something else. I'm actually most interested to see what the change log is going to look like on April 1st as we go in and we find things that need to be fixed and people are like, what the hell is this?
you do get choice paralysis for like, what do I work on next?
For me, we're not done. Let's talk about this a little bit because I'm curious of what your work process, like project scope, looks like. For me, as I look around me right now, I have like set piles of magazines. Like, oh, this is the thing I'm doing today. I'm going to do the V-Jump serialization. Okay, I'm going to do this Dragon Quest manga. Those are the things I'm doing today. Then I'll get them done and I'll put them away. And then I'll be like, okay, the next thing, let me grab, blank over here. How do you arrange it for yourself, especially when you're thinking about the manga? I guess the manga is just, I'm going to go sequentially. But beyond that, how do you plan out what you want to work on in what order?
Well, I thought I would also do the character biographies in like chronological order, like Goku, Bulma, Oolong, Puar. But then I got to Yamcha and there was already something there. So I thought, okay, I go from Puar to Upa instead because they fight Dracula Man together and I can do all that stuff. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll just pick a completely random character like Giran. And then I saw the page of Namekian characters and all the links were red. So I thought I'll make all of these pages.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I'm seeing your thought process there because I've done the same thing. Or I get to a page like, oh no, there's nothing here. I got to do it. All right. Well, I guess that's probably it. Kev, I'll finish up then with what's the coolest thing you've learned. You've already said Numa Monja, so it can't be that. So what's one other cool thing you've learned about in the process of working on this stuff?
Well, I got a Japanese guidebook for Legendary Super Warriors, which finally gave me a source for how to unlock all these characters. Because I've always had this game FAQs, guides and stuff. But there was never a source like, where does this come from? Where do people find this?
Yeah.
So now I actually really know how to unlock these characters. There's no, I know for a fact now how to do it.
I like that. Yeah. That's the problem with documentation is when you feel very strongly about it, you need to acquire the physical sources. And well, just look around me and here we are. So, all right. That has been Kev Trev. Thank you so much. I appreciate, again, everything that you have done and will continue to do. Thank you much. Here we go. Wiki's going live.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it a lot.
Well, here's a familiar voice. It's Ken.
Hey, Mike.
You did a lot of work on this thing.
I did, yeah. The whole reason why I have probably ever been on the podcast is because I was brought in to work on the wiki. I was recruited by Therese basically to start working on it because I owned the Kanzenshuu and could reference them for
so
things.
Funny. That's right. It's like who actually owns things? And you know what? To be fair, that's a differentiator for us compared to other sources out there. Like, hey, we actually own the things and can open them to the page and point you at the thing you're looking for. That's important. And I think that really, you look at the attack list and that's it. Here's the page, here's the entry, here's everything. So why don't take me back to the start of coming in. Maybe, I don't know, it's going to be really hard to put yourself back in those early day shoes. What did you think we had going on? What did you think you were going to do? Like what were your initial impressions of everything?
When I came in at first, this is not my first wiki experience. I did do some Wikipedia editing back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Wikipedia account that I don't use anymore, but it does exist, and I have edited pages before. So I had some, feet under me. I have programming experience, HTML experience, CSS experience, stuff like that. So it's not alien to me totally, but coming in was just like, okay, this is like Kanzenshuu website plus. And in many ways, it's like the ghost of Kanzentai a little bit in how, Jake had gone and done all of those Daizenshuu translations back then, that just used to be up on the site. And a lot of that I have had to reference in going back and doing my work on this wiki as well, when I've run into like translation issues or not understanding an entry from the Kanzenshuu. For context, a lot of what I have done have been almost one-to-one Kanzenshuu translations from the guidebook, particularly Kanzenshuu 4 coming in and then putting it into the voice of the Kanzenshuu Wiki style guide.
Yeah.
So coming in, it was like, this is website plus.
Yeah. What did you think you were gonna do beyond that? Was it just like, oh, this is just the thing. This is my pet project. This is what I'll do.
Well, I started off doing those little bits of like, and it's unfinished. All the attack names going through.
Everything.
I think I started with doing transformations, and then that led me into doing more of the techniques. And I think I finished out every different key manipulation technique that's in Kanzenshuu 4, and then started moving to the other stuff and burnt out by that point for sure, which I'm sure is something maybe you've discussed with other editors, or I don't know how many other editors have been doing this as long as I have with you.
Yeah, we got a little bit of the old guard and the new guards. The new guard's too new to have burnt out, but I mean, that's definitely an issue that I think a lot of us have had with this particular project, and I've certainly had struggles with it just on the site as a whole. I feel good in that I think everyone gets a little bit of a taste of like my daily life and struggle doing the website, where it's like, it's not always interesting or fun. Sometimes you got to do stuff that's just and Joe used this word a lot. I don't know where I'm going to place all the interviews in a row, so you may hear something that has been referenced or wasn't, that will be said later. We talked about scaffolding a lot with the wiki, where whether it's like an episode page or a manga guide page or even the techniques, like to have that as the basis to then go do the other stuff. Sometimes it's not interesting to do that early scaffolding, but it's really important to do. And yeah, you can get burnt out on it, whether that's doing techniques or even just like manga chapter summaries, especially when they're just fighting. Like, it's not interesting to write.
I pulled up here because I always have my notes ready.
Yeah, of course you do.
Thing. So you can't see this because it's too bright on my iPad, but I pulled up all the pages that I have edited up to a certain point. This might be slightly out of date, and it's like, all the different techniques, transformation, armaments, clothing, transportation, miscellaneous, and then it's like timeline, and it's like age, all the way down. Frieza's organization, I did a lot of work on. The Figure Arts page, I started Imagination Works, which was a line that was only, I think, like 3 figures, and so maybe that one could be tightened up pretty easily.
Nice. I like those. Yeah.
The Dragon Ball Daima characters page. So the way that I have, and that's not up to date. I burnt out for a different reason. I was
gonna say, speaking of burnout, yeah.
I have avoided burnout totally by just jumping around a lot.
Yeah.
But one of the frustrations of that is like, well, I'm working on age 762, right? Which is not a finished page and may not be ready to go out yet. I have done everything I can here, and I would love someone else to jump in and kind of pick up where I left off. But because this has been a closed wiki for so long, we have not been able to do that. And you've made efforts to bring in more people, but it's like when you set something down, there's not anyone to pick it up.
Yeah, for sure. You'll have folks like Kev that did a real good job going through just like all the individual manga chapter pages and adding in the extra information. I think a lot of people have, and as much as I've encouraged the opposite, they're worried about the protective nature some people may have over some of the projects.
No.
I'm like, nah, man, get in there. Whatever you want to do. If you see something, say something.
And one of the things I'm really looking forward to about this wiki being open and available to everyone is a lot of this work when I started was maybe 2018 is when I came in. Maybe a little earlier than that, but in that range. There is probably stuff I have gotten wrong along the way, and I would love people to get their eyes on it and be like, no, this is wrong, it's this. Show me where I've messed up, and let's fix it. Let's get this correct. Let's get our citations right. And, as we've all done a great job. I think that's one of the shining aspects of this wiki is you look at the, we won't say their name, but the other one. And it's just like, you look at the section of credits or whatever, and their sources, and it's like Kanzenshuu 7. And it's like, okay, where in what page? I need to know that stuff so that I can go and verify it. And so the wiki opening up, I'm very much looking forward to people who also own all of this stuff jumping in and verifying some of these sources. Like, oh, hey, maybe you just messed up and you got a page wrong. And then let's go in and fix that stuff. And it's just going to be a lot of great feedback that will only be good for the wiki.
I agree. Totally. I want to go down that route of expectations and review, but I want to circle back a little bit to projects that you worked on there. The timeline in particular, I think a lot of people are going to be looking at that for a lot of different reasons. Number one is like it's actually in the main navigation on the front page of the wiki. So I think people are psyched about like, hey, what is that there? But I thought, and Heath thought, Heath as the designer of the wiki from a technical sense, just felt it was really important to include that stuff. We've always really wanted to have a timeline guide on the main site. Heath has actually coded a timeline guide for the main site that just never took off because, as you know, it's so much fucking work to do.
Yeah.
And in particular, if you want to do it like Kanzenshuu main site style guide, like that's something else. At least wiki coding, you can just paragraphs and bold and italics, man. Let's get it down there. But yeah, tell me about that work, because there's a lot of stuff and you assume it's just like, okay, just copy and paste Jake's history of ever and that's it. But it's more than that, really.
One of the things I'm most proud of that I've done on here is on the timeline page. And then there is so the main page is called Dragon World Timeline, if anyone wants to look it up. And there's a section in there called History, where I walk through what must have been Carmel Mama's pathway to filling this timeline out.
Yeah.
And how they built the timeline that they did and where they got some stuff wrong. Maybe, you're building a book with a lot of words in it and you're going to get stuff wrong putting it together. And so tracking that kind of stuff. And I just love my timeline page. I've always been a timeline nerd. I can't not think about stuff analytically, like in that just a data set way. One of the Wikipedia pages that I used to work on, it doesn't exist anymore because it was so nebulous, was the official, or I guess unofficial, DC Universe timeline of when everything must have happened.
Yeah.
And that got taken down. And that's for the best because that was a whole mess and not just like that's a sliding scale universe and you can't do that kind of stuff there. But here it's different. What was the question again? I already
just
forgot.
Telling me more about the Dragon World timeline. You talked about how basically, the same way that they had to, where you start with Trunks mentioning years, age, and then just kind of expanding backward and forward from that, the same way that they would have had to, where, all right, they say 2 days passed, like all those kinds of things. That is the structure of that timeline. But then taking it further, like seeing what they wrote and noting what they wrote, noting the contradictions, like it's all in there from you.
And that was one thing that I had to reckon with early on, was because the books get stuff wrong sometimes, it's not our job to necessarily fix things. It's to say, this is what they said and this is why it's wrong. Yeah, but this is the information. And so it's not your job to fix it. It's just your job to state it, right? We are very objective in this wiki, I think, and that's something that's nice that a lot of people will appreciate. But the timeline stuff, I've just always been a fan of, and I think to a fault, right? You have seen me crash out on things on this timeline before, and it will happen again. There is no doubt. Like, don't even talk to me about Trunks' birthday. I don't want to hear it right now.
For sure.
I just love this kind of stuff. And the timeline, to me, is a beautiful thing about Toriyama, is that everyone gives Toriyama too much flack. They think he's a forgetful writer and that he was kind of going just from beat to beat, building it out. But he built a pretty damn cohesive universe and timeline that is a large reason maybe people aren't aware of it, but it's got to be why people love it so much, because the world feels, this is going to be crazy, feels real within a certain aspect, right?
Yeah. At least within those 42 volumes.
Right. And so I have, it has been really fun to experience the series in a very specific way, going through just taking a look at the timeline. And there's even a section on here called Contradictions and Revisions, where like we talk about how Jocko complicates everything, or how the timeline works considering, you take Aurale and Dr. Slump into account because they use their Gregorian timeline, and then how it does some weird stuff with Battle of Gods, like actually taking place in 2013, which is when the movie came out. And then, of course, Super and all the stuff that did. It's fun. I love working on the timeline stuff.
But there is a lot more than that. Like I'm scrolling through your user page, and I mentioned this previously, but one thing I like is everyone did, or kind of at my insistence, everyone did a real good job of tracking everything they worked on their own user page. So you can just see at a quick glance, like here's all the pages I worked on. You really did Planet Yard Rat here, like something special. And I know Therese jumped in at some point in here too, but like you really got everything here, and especially as of Super and some of the Super manga stuff, it's very cool. Like you even pulled out some of the Saga stuff. I know PSP helped a little bit, like ripping graphics and getting the other character's name that is only in the code for the game,
Right.
like citing that stuff there. Like, hey, is never referred to by name, but is inside the game file. Like there's a note for that alongside it. Like it's all here.
The way this one happened was I think I was just asking something about Yard Rat or something, and Therese was like, well, why don't you just make the damn page yourself? And I'm like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
And jumped in. Yeah, I'm also proud of the Yard Rat one. That's something that I do forget about a lot. But, you know, only through jumping in here and making these pages, you know, we're not just recording stuff. We're also learning stuff on our own as we go through. We don't just come in here to the wiki with all the knowledge doing it, right? We're uncovering stuff as we're diving in, like the double name pun potential for Jimizu, right? And for people who don't know, he was the Yardratian from Universe 2 who has kind of a double name pun where it could be both both of the food one of his universe, but it can also, if you rearrange the kana, it could be like another word for a rodent. So he has both his universe's name pun and the kind of a way that Toyotaro went with it. It's just awesome. And yeah, just another, partially, you know, I love Toyotaro. I'm very open about that. And I think the stuff he did with the Yardratians was some of the best, like marrying disparate concepts together and then getting into the stuff with the name puns, because we don't know necessarily, we know Toyotaro did a lot of designs and character concept and creation for the Tournament of Power. We don't necessarily know the total breakdown of what he did. I wouldn't be surprised to learn if the Universe 2 Yardratian was from him.
Yeah. I looked through your list of contributions. You mentioned this earlier, but the SH Figure Arts, which has been a big topic of discussion around these parts lately.
Right.
How did that come to be? Did it start with when, I know you ordered, I got it into the Figure Arts Encyclopedia with the Toyotaro figures? Like, well, here's a book that documents everything. This is like my starting point, and let me go from here.
Yeah. So the book has, that was the inception of wanting to do this. It was always something I toyed around with because Figure Arts they have been around since 2009. You know, that's, oh my God.
That's
17
Kai era.
years.
That's crazy.
I've been collecting this line since the very beginning. I've been there for all the ups and the many downs of Figure Arts. Feels like more downs than ups recently. You know, Genki Damatsuri, anyone, pop-up tour. But right, once I had that book come out that I could start tracking different things in certain ways, like I think the books are where I got all the yen prices from. But then I've actually been sourcing some things from my own receipts of figures that I purchased, because you just can't find that information anymore. And I've been having to use Wayback Machine for a lot of things. But yeah, once I had that book come out, that, for those who don't know, it's a book that comes with the Toyotaro Ultra Instinct Goku, I think to celebrate the 150th figure or something like that.
Yeah.
And that book lays out all of the releases up to that Goku figure and has a whole bunch of data and information in there. And I said, once I have that book, then I can start diving into here. And I have like an official thing I can source and say, like, this is what they consider the release order and all of the yen that they're saying. And I've even found instances where the prices that they're saying things are not true. So you catch a lot of stuff doing it on the wiki. But yeah, that book was the beginning of it all. But then it does come to a point where, man, there are like almost 200 releases on here. And how do we need to start breaking this down? So I have it broken down to like 3-year increments at some points. And yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
I hope my enthusiasm for these things is coming across, right? As a wiki editor, how much fun it is to do this kind of thing. And I hope people can hear that in my voice.
Well, there's the two sides of it, right? There's the intense fun, and then there's the intense burnout that comes from having too much fun along with it. But you really nailed it on the head earlier. You say like, you just jump around to do other things. Like I did 2 hours earlier today of documenting 1 year of V-Jump almost took 2 hours. I can't just do all of V-Jump. I will hate every moment of my life doing that. So, every week or so I'll do, here's another year of just all the chapters and all the stuff in V-Jump. And then I'm going to move over to working on like an author or something. And lately I've just been spending a bunch of time doing Dragon Quest stuff because it's just different but related enough that it hits a bunch of stuff where it allows me to just have fun. It allows me to, change my mind in a different direction, do different things. It allows me to learn new things. Like today, I knew these other manga existed, but I happened to come across in the 2013 V-Jumps, like, oh, here's chapter 1 of this other Dragon Quest manga. Cool. And it's just a fun little discovery along the way. And you're like, okay, and who did the art on this one? Who's the author on this one? And you start piecing all those other names together. I think it was a few live streams ago. One of the discoveries I have was the name Satoru Iriyoshi, who did the Go-Go Ackman Cell comic in V-Jump. I'm like, oh, I don't know that name. And then I searched my own website for that name. Like, oh, they're an animator. They've done animation on Dragon Ball before. Oh, there's already a listing for them. Like, it's just connecting all the dots that way. And you hear it in my voice now. Like, that's cool. That's just fun. Just piecing everything together in this like larger connected Toriyama world. That's so much fun to me.
I was listening to your first, the wiki editing stream you did a little bit ago, and you uncover that Koyama did not write every issue of the Cashman manga, as we had previously thought. And I'm like, oh my God, so we have this new guy, Ken Abe. Who's he? And you were just like, that's a mystery for another day. I can't do this right now. And, and you do run into that so many times doing wiki editing.
Yeah. Yeah. Even today, I made notes for myself. Like, what were the notes I made? I was like, okay, I got to go check the V-Jump website in July 2013 because it looks like they put up chapter 1 of this Dragon Quest manga. Let me go see if I can get like a clean scan of the chapter page from that. I got to figure out if it's apparently this other Dragon Quest wiki says they write out the name as Sola with an L. All right, I got to find where that is because they say it, but they don't cite it. So I got to go in and find out, is that in a chapter? They just say it's like in the volume. What does it in the volume mean? I don't know what that means. I got to go find it for myself. Fun little extra chores like that pop up.
You were saying what do I think the expectations are?
Yeah, let's get into that. Yeah.
I definitely think people are going to expect it to be more complete than it is. And that's something I'm a little self-conscious about with some of my pages, is that they are very drastically incomplete, right? The figure arts page is, there's a table and not a whole lot else. But I think even in its unfinished state, right? And the curse of a wiki is that it will probably never be finished. But the amount of comprehensive information that is on it, I think, is a true treasure. And we mention your website all the time on We Got a Podcast, and I can't tell you how many times I have just said, I'll just check the wiki for this information. I don't necessarily need to go anywhere else, because all of the core information you want to know is on the wiki in some state right now, I think. Obviously, we're going through a lot of the edges and everything, and a lot of things are unfinished. If you're looking for like a battle power guide, I don't think we have that, but we do have.
Well, that's on the main website.
Right. Yeah. What page this thing happened on. And maybe we have little notes with context for a lot of stuff. And I think you'll start to see a lot of Dragon Ball tubers start to come out and be like, oh, the Kanzenshuu wiki says this. And I think it's going to slowly start picking up and getting steam. And then that other one is just going to, it has its uses. It's not totally unuseful, but it's not of the same caliber as what we are working on.
There's just also a lot of real basic things. Again, I apologize. I've had so many of these conversations. I can't remember what I said to who at what point, on stream, off stream. I don't know. But even just basic things like you go to an anime episode page. Like, I just want to know what manga chapters this corresponds to. Okay, we got that. I go to a character page. I just want to know who the Japanese voice actor for this character is. Okay, we got that. Like, that stuff is not in the info boxes on these broader wikis. Like, those are the things that I assume other people are looking for because I'm looking for it and I don't see it out there. That's kind of like why we build the things we do, is because I was looking for this. I needed this, and I'm not finding it out there.
There was, I forget what it's called, but the world that Kami and Popo go to in the Garlic Jr. arc.
Yeah.
I was trying to find the kanji for it, and I found what the Dragon Ball, the other wiki, was telling me, but totally unsourced.
Yeah.
Because you never see the kanji in the episode. You're just hearing them speak it, right?
Right.
And I had to go, I eventually found it in Shouzenshuu 3, which would have been also Daizenshu 6, maybe, the episode, whatever one has that episode guide in it. And I found it in the little episode guide summaries to find the kanji for it.
Yeah.
And we will have that source for you, for the reader. We will tell you where it is. We're not going to hide that information. It's up to you to go get the book yourself, but we will tell you exactly where to find it.
I want to hear a little bit more about, before we wrap up, how you use it on a regular basis for your own other stuff. Like, for example, you guys recently did a Cashman episode. I imagine that the only place you were able to pull dates from for that was the work I did.
Right. And that was definitely from the V-Jump page that you've got here, where it says like which chapters or which manga series ran in each of those V-Jump issues. Yeah, you're the only one with that information. It's not anywhere else.
Yeah. What other stuff do you look for? Like, if you're just doing a general Dragon Ball conversation, or you're looking for, like, what things do you look for where you're like, oh, let me go look this up somewhere?
I mean, honestly, I've sourced a lot of my own stuff, right? Like you say, sometimes you'll Google something only to find Kanzenshuu. It's the source for what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Timeline stuff.
Yeah.
Because the timeline is so comprehensive, right? I don't even know how many pages Dragon Ball is, but you're 42 volumes, 520 chapters.
Yeah.
I can't remember all of that all the time. Like, I've misspoken on We Got a Podcast so many times. But when we record this stuff and I have all the timeline stuff written down, like all of the complications and contradictions and revisions that are in this series, at one point I have marked all of this down. I don't have to keep that in my mind.
Yeah.
But if I see someone asking like, oh, hey, I can just go jump on it. There's been times where Randy and Doug, who both have wiki access, have been asking a question. I'm like, just check the wiki. It's in the wiki. You just go look.
Yeah. Love it.
But the most I use it nowadays when I'm not editing myself is for like We Got a Podcast research, where if I'm really having to research something for that podcast, it means I'm looking into some nitty gritty detail, and I'm going to find that on the Kanzenshuu wiki.
It's either going to be there or I'm going to get a message like, Mike,
right.
Where is this thing?
Right. And that's the thing, is we figured out that for so long, people have been getting the girl's name wrong in the Cashman OVA, because you can't read the credits on the VHS rip that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you had the V-Jump scan to show us that it was, in fact, a boo and not a poo.
I didn't have the V-Jump scan. I had the V-Jump.
Okay, you had the V-Jump. You know what I mean, Michael.
Not everything is a scan, Ken.
Look, English is an evolving language, okay?
No, line in the sand. I guess we already talked about like expectations, and I think everyone's on the same page of like, oh boy, you're not going to find what you're looking for, but hey, oh, look over here. There's all this other stuff that you don't care about, but it's all here. What are some, it's a two-part question. What are some cool things you've seen other folks do in the wiki that people should check out? And then maybe have you learned anything from checking out all that cool stuff?
I think your games guide that you've been working on is really great.
Yeah.
But I honestly, I don't do a whole lot of browsing of the wiki for myself. It's for research purposes, basically, but I think that when people get in here and they just start clicking around, I think all of the worries that we might have, they're going to go away, because people could, lose their whole week perusing this thing. It's a totally different beast than I think anyone has ever encountered before. I think there's a certain respect that many wikis show their source material that aren't that other wiki. And I think people should set their expectations even higher than those for what we have. And so even if I'm not going around clicking on everything, because again, I've been on this for 8 years now, right?
Yeah.
So I have if you had asked me 7 years ago, I probably could have had a fantastic answer to that question when I was still fresh and new to it.
Yeah.
But, for me, it's very much, I've seen it,
Sure.
I'm in my own little corner working now, but I think people are going to really be blown away.
Very nice. Great. Well, Ken, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. I very much appreciate it. Appreciate all the work you did. I've enjoyed from afar watching you grow as, just a visitor, just a listener, just a fan, just a friend, just an editor, just a co-host, just a professional podcaster. Like watching you, it's just been nice, man.
Yeah,
I don't know where to go with that. It's just been really nice to watch your journey and be along with it for the ride too. It's been fun. So I appreciate all the work. I think people, when they check out the pages that you worked on, they'll see those decades of love put into that stuff there. And you mentioned this earlier, and I want to hear like, hey, yeah, tell us any mistakes you see, but also, again, I've said this, a lot of people have said this, what's missing? Like, what do you want? Give us an idea of something cool to work on that can spark a thought of like, oh, yeah, I didn't know you wanted to see a list of blank. We might have it because we got a lot of weird list of blanks, but
Let's see here.
Yeah.
If I search for Apul, oh, great. Here's some information on him. Lorem ipsum dolor sit amet. Well, okay. Looks like we're missing that one. We need to fill that in.
Working on a pool page. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. This next up, project number 1. Ken, thank you very much. I'll see you later tonight, I assume.
Yep.
All right. Good deal. Why don't you get it in the plug? We got a podcast. Anything else you want to mention?
No, just we got a podcast. We're jumping in. Well, I don't know what the timeline is. So
April 1st, like a month from now. Yeah.
We have already started Super Dragon Ball Heroes. I'm dragging Randy and Doug through it. Fun times that we got a podcast.
Well, thank you. We're out of here. I am psyched to welcome to the podcast and to the wiki. It's Shu, you may see around as Footlong Shu. Why is the shoe foot long?
Every shoe's a foot long when you think about it.
That's true. I am thinking about it. You threw me off here. I'm psyched to chat with you because you've been doing really, really cool stuff with us, and you've been around for so long. That's kind of where I want to start is how'd you come to Dragon Ball and how'd you come to Kanzenshuu?
Well, how I came to Dragon Ball was in like elementary school. One of my friends would bring the manga on the bus, and I was like, oh, let me check that out. And it was like, it was original. It wasn't Z. Even though the manga there is no Z, but here it was like it was like volume 1. So I got into it how you're supposed to, but I also kind of fell off until I think in like high school. I was like, let me get back into this, and I actually watched the whole thing through. As for Kanzenshuu, I found Kanzenshuu, I think it was when Battle of Gods was coming out. It was so like all the news cycle of that brought me to Kanzenshuu, and that's how I discovered that side of things.
That's cool. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people came in then because it was a revival of fandom for a lot of people, and then we had just fused the year before, and we were in the perfect place for the perfect storm of news coverage at the time. So I feel like we got a lot of folks. We captured them all at that time. So tell me a little bit about you and the wiki. What have you been working on? What's in there? What's going on?
Well, the main stuff I've been doing on the wiki really is, I guess, related to all the home video sections, which mostly seem to get launched by Jake and Therese, if I remember right. Yeah. So I took a lot of what they did, and they had a lot of the American side covered. So I kind of tried to do a similar style with some of the Japanese stuff that wasn't on there yet, particularly like the movie Blu-rays are what I have mostly filled out. And other than that, I kind of just like spot check stuff. Like I'm like, oh, this could use some information. Like I think I had just rewatched like Z Movie 10 at some point, and I went to see if any of that stuff was on the wiki, and a lot of it wasn't. So I was like, oh, okay, let me just make some pages. So it's just here and there stuff I feel like doing. I just like, okay, let's fill in. Like the Kai home video was incomplete, so I fleshed that out a bit.
That's some of the most important work, which is like, hey, I watched this thing recently, or I'm thinking of this thing. Let me see what's in there. And, oh, no, all right, I'll do it. when it's top of mind is kind of like the best time to do some of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It makes it easier too because it's fresh on your mind.
Yeah. I really like and appreciate the home video stuff because I mean that is something that we really fell off on the main website. It even got too overwhelming for me at some point. I mean, you think about even just the American stuff. By the time we got to like the third version of Blu-ray seasons, like I'm out. I don't know what's happening anymore. You know, at that point, I wasn't buying them basically as a form of protest as well. Like these are not good. Like, why am I going to keep buying this stuff? That means I don't know about it anymore. That means someone else is probably the better person to cover this stuff. And the same kind of extends to the Japanese releases. Like at a certain point, like I didn't buy all the Blu-ray, the movie volumes. I got the first one with the box and like, oh yeah, I'll fill this all out someday. Like, oh no, they're all bad. Okay, well, I guess I'm not going to buy all of these anymore. But it's important to have listings for those. So they're cool pages too. Like you've got the Japanese descriptive text on there, just a breakdown of like what's on them, what their summaries are. Like that's all just super important stuff to have that I'm so glad someone else wants to do.
Yeah, and I took it upon myself to translate those too because I was like, I was gonna just have like the TBD, and I was like, I think I could try this out. And at that point, I had it like tentative translation, but I was like, I mean, it looks pretty good to me. So I'll take that tentative off. And if somebody does feel the need to correct anything, they can go ahead.
Yeah, that stuff looks totally good to me. I mean, from my severely untrained eye, I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm not as good at translating as like the longtime translators that you have, but it's like I feel like I'm deep enough in it that I can at least get the gist across.
The way I describe it to people is like, I may not be fluent in Japanese, but I am fluent in Dragon Ball. And so like I can get my way through a good majority of this kind of stuff. So that's really cool. My other questions for you about the wiki are kind of less what you are working on and like, what else is in there? What cool stuff do you see that other people have been doing and are working on?
Well, there's a lot of interesting stuff that is like, it's the kind of thing that I don't think you would outright seek out, but when you find it, you're like, oh wow, somebody's put a lot of work into this, like the Dragon World timeline that Ken's been doing. And I think it was who you just talked to, Zephyr, that's doing the like the real world timeline stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks really interesting.
Yeah, I love it when people decide they have a pet project and like, I'm going to go as deep as possible as I can into this completely esoteric thing that literally no one else cares about, but I care about it. So I'm going to write about it.
Oh yeah. And all the like, it's been a while since I looked at it, but I think you have like the whole like music catalog and stuff in there too, right?
Yeah. Trez did a ton of work on that. Yeah.
That's something I'm big on, but it's like, I'm not knowledgeable enough to really be like, oh, let me try to fill some of this out. No, I got to leave that to others, but I definitely appreciate what's being done over there.
Yeah, this stuff is so cool. Have you learned anything new along the way, whether it's stuff you're working on or stuff you've been reading from other people?
Well, I don't know off the top of my head anything I've learned. I haven't like thoroughly read a lot of the wiki pages, but I saw when you were updating the V-Jump, like you were listing all the series that are currently in V-Jump at some point. Or no, I'm sorry, Saikyo Jump. It was Saikyo Jump. And I saw a manga in there that I was like, that looks funny. I should try to read that for Japanese practice. So I got into a manga thanks to the wiki.
Oh, cool. Which one was it?
It was, how do you say it? It's,
is it the, I know what one you're talking about.
It's like the one with the frog, the girl likes frogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah.
That's funny. That's part of the fun for me is I'll work on a page and I'm like, okay, you know, I got to do the Dragon Ball stuff, but I want to really put this in context. Like, okay, Saikyo Jump exists. It is not a magazine that just has 2 Dragon Ball comics in it. And like,
right.
What's the rest of the 800 pages every month? Like, what is the nonsense that's in here? You know, here's the stuff that's published alongside. I think that's worth keeping track of to at least the best of my ability. And then I get real crazy and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to find out the issue that it debuted in so you can know exactly how long it's been running in here. And then I'll tell you, I'll flip it on you. I learned something, and that's the Saikyo Jump website. Is you'll see on the Saikyo Jump page, I have the table of like what the currently running series are.
Right, yeah.
And sometimes it shifts. I'm like, you know, what makes the order it is? And then as I was going through and finding when they all debuted, I'm like, oh, they're listing this in order of when it debuted originally in the magazine, with the exception of the Dragon Ball Super Divers manga.
Oh, that is interesting.
Which they put at the top because it's Dragon Ball. And they want to have Dragon Ball at the top.
That's a selling point.
Yeah. It's just weird stuff like that you notice. Like, oh, this has no impact on anything, but I figured out what they're doing here. That's cool. So I think the way I want to wrap it up is, this is a 2-part question, and I'd love to hear as deep as you're willing to go on either of these. And that's, what do you think the expectations are for the wiki? And then the flip side of that is, what do you think the reaction is going to be when people actually get in there and see what's in there?
Okay, so we're talking about like from the outsider's perspective.
Yeah.
I think the expectation is finally having a, I guess, one-stop, comprehensive, accurate resource for Dragon Ball information. I think the reaction is going to be, that's tough. I mean, I think there's a lot more in there than people are expecting. Like, if you're expecting a wiki that just covers like the Dragon Ball universe, it's a lot bigger than that. It's got, Dr. Slump stuff, Psycho Jump stuff. Everywhere every angle you can imagine, there's something there.
And yet, is it like the Goku page has a lot of like DVD? I don't know.
On there. No, I wasn't sure if I should say it, but I think another part of it is going to be like, why isn't this here yet? That's the
no. That's what I want to hear. I want the real.
That'll be part of the reaction too.
Your real reactions. Yeah, I think there's going to be, as I feel the same way. I think there's going to be a lot of, what the fuck is this? Like, there's nothing here.
I think even like last week I was looking, I was like, there's still no Super Saiyan page.
Yeah. For me, that's the kind of thing is like, you already know what this is. I'll get to this eventually. Like that's the least important thing that can possibly be in this wiki right now.
Yeah, that's very fair. But I know Kev Trev's been doing a good job of filling out that, like, the stuff you would expect to be there. He like read through the whole manga and he was just filling stuff out as he went.
I like those kinds of projects. I was talking about this with Zephyr a little bit. It's like, I did this and I was looking at this and, I threw this in here, and you mentioned the same thing. Like, I just watched a movie and, I'm just going to go ahead and throw those things in there. I try to do a lot of that myself as well, where it's like, I was thinking of this in the shower. I should make a note to myself and go throw it in there later. Cause if you lose the train of thought, you've kind of like lost it forever.
Right. Yeah.
What else do you want to share about it, or like encourage people to check out? Well, I guess I should put this in context. So I'm recording right after recording with Zephyr. So we're recording on March 2nd here. We're about a month out from the launch, so to speak, of this. So, knowing that people are going to be listening to this on or around the launch, what do you think they should dive in and check out?
Well, honestly, just check out whatever you're interested in. If you're like, if you are like, I wonder if this has a page on Dragon Ball Z, the digitally remastered Funimation DVD, colloquially known as the Orange Brick, and you'll find it on there. Some things you might not find on there, but we'll get to it.
Yeah. I think, just use that search bar. Just start like typing words in.
Yeah.
See when you get back.
I was going to say, though, like, I think a sort of an understated thing about the wiki is that it's not just the accuracy of the information, but it's like everything that's on there, we point to where it is. Like, we're not going to just tell you to take our word for anything. Yeah.
Almost to a fault. I think about some of the, the reference sections at the bottom. Like, I'm doing some really weird shit where I'm like, all right, this is this chapter. Like, I'm just thinking about for the Psycho Jump page. It's top of mind because you mentioned it. Like, okay, this is where it debuted. Like, all right, and I'm going to tell you also, like, what was the page number span for when it was in there. Like, so if you really want to go double check, my homework, you can go buy that magazine and go to that exact page and you're going to see exactly what I saw there. But I also think that is such a differentiator, because you'll go to, the fandom Dragon Ball wiki and it'll be like Kanzenshuu 2.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
I will say that wiki is like, people dog on it all day long. If you know what you're looking for, you can find the right information, but you don't know where it came from. They don't tell you where it came from. They could tell you something true and you just like, I don't know if I can trust this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, hey, you got a little number there. Click that number and it'll tell you exactly where it came from.
Yeah.
So, all right, Shoo, thank you much. I appreciate it. Any last thoughts before we get out of here?
I look forward to covering Xenoverse 3 on the wiki.
All right, excellent. It's all yours.
All right, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Take care. It's another familiar voice. You know him as your translator extraordinaire, Zenpai. Hello, sir.
Hello there.
So, you did wiki stuff.
I
cool.
did quite a few years ago. I haven't actually touched it a lot, unless for, a little bit of research when I was translating the manga, and it's actually been really, really helpful, except when I tried to look at timeline stuff, where stuff didn't, it was correct, but the information provided by the official sources still didn't quite make sense. It's like, I don't really know what to make of this, but still.
Let's go back to the beginning. For folks who may not know, it's Zenpai. You do translations here at Kanzenshuu for us. You're also an official translator. What's your big project? There's something cool you do, right?
Yeah, I think it's something that has two words, starts with D, ends in L, and somewhere in the middle has the letters Dragon Ball. So,
hey, look,
yeah.
No, it's written as one word on, what is it, the Kanzenban that is one word?
I think it's a Kanzenban.
Yeah, so.
I could grab it real quick, but I don't really want to.
No, I can see it out of the corner of my eye over here.
Yeah, it's a Kanzenban.
We should say the Portuguese translation of Dragon Ball. What's the deal? You're on translation number 3? Is that what this is?
Like number of series?
No, how many times has Dragon Ball been attempted to be translated?
Yeah, it's the third time.
2.5 or something. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. What are you up to? I guess 2 questions. What's the latest release? Because last time we talked, it was like volume 2 was coming out. So what's fresh coming out right now?
So the book number 6 is about to come out, which includes volumes 16, 17, and 18. So that's
right.
End of the 2013 Kaiichi Budokai, then the science coming.
Cool. Great place to start. I always hear start at Raditz. That's where you go. And you fly through. Like, what are you actively translating right now?
A little bit dangerous for me to say it publicly, because there are some people in Portugal that actually listen to this, and I'm not really sure if I want to go.
I didn't mean
detail.
Other series. I meant in terms of Dragon Ball. Like, have you already translated the entire? Oh, okay. All right.
That's exactly what I meant.
All right, then I won't question stricken from the record.
Exactly.
All right, then. So then let's talk a little bit more wiki stuff. So there have been cool things that you've done. You're a translator, but you're also a fan. I'm also a client. I don't know that you would know that reference. That's okay. You get in there, and in the past you did a lot of super notes. Let's start there. Tell me what you did on some of these super chapter pages.
So basically, super is really interesting to me because it's pretty much the first thing that came out ever since I found out about the website. I mean, Battle of Gods came out, and then Resurrection F, because I only found out about the website in 2011. And I just dove into the site regarding all the things that I had no idea about the series, and I thought it was a treasure trove of information. But Super was brand new, and we had to do all the research from scratch. And, ever since life happened and we get older and we get responsibilities and we don't have a lot of time. I mean, sometimes we do have our own pet projects and stuff still gets done, but it's not quite the same, we don't have quite the same time to do things. And one thing that really interested me was the difference between the super anime and the super manga, because originally I didn't even want to read the super manga, because why would I read this when the animated series is already the original, and it's animated, and the manga is not drawn by the original author, so I don't really care. But people kept talking about how it was different, and then I read it. It's like, maybe they had something going on here. So I thought it was interesting to try to check the differences between both versions, just because they kept on saying that Toriyama had written the draft story, the story draft for Super, but since there are things that are different between the versions, maybe those are the things that were open to artistic liberty, and then the things that are common between them, those are the things that Toriyama actually wrote down in his draft.
Right. Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting to make a list of all the things that are different, just so we can see at a glance what are the major differences between the manga version and the animated version. So I just, when I was reading the manga, I was already, for the first time, I already planned on doing this project for the wiki. So every time I saw something that I didn't quite remember from the anime, I just jotted it down. Then I went to look for the corresponding episode in the anime. It's like, oh, so that's how it went in the anime. So then I put I listed down the differences in the wiki, and then once I got to chapter 42, I think. When the super manga just goes beyond the anime, then I just I stop and I just read the Moro arc, and great arc. But finally, it's been taking me a long time, but I finally got to read the Granola arc. I had to put it on pause for a little while because I need to catch. I need to read Chainsaw Man again because I'm going to be the next translator for the series, so I need to do it real quick. But after that, then it's going to be the superhero version of events. From what I hear, apart from the prequel chapters and the sequel chapters, the epilogue chapters, more like it, not sequel. It's not really all that different, but still, I want to check it out for myself. And then I realized that there still aren't actually chapter pages for those last chapters. I think it ended in like chapter 77 or something. It's the last one on the wiki. So if I want to do that, I actually have to create the chapter pages myself.
Yep.
So,
if Zenpai won't do it, who will? I did the majority of those for the early super chapters. Therese took over for me for a while. When it's a 45-page manga chapter, writing summaries is not fun.
Yeah.
And you really struggle as a writer, a creative writer, a documentarian to find out, like, how do I describe this in an interesting way without relying on the same crutch phrases over and over too? Like, if you do site kanzenshuu.com/manga and quotes flurry of punches, like they're all made, like I just write the same thing over and over. It's like, I don't know how else to describe this. That's what's happening here. And it's just tough to write. Like, that's the stuff that no one wants to do because it's not fun. It's fun to like dig up things I didn't know about and like, oh, I'm going to translate this sentence from 1991 that no one's ever seen before. Like writing up 45, 49, 51 page chapters, dog. No, I don't want to do that either. So that's super manga stuff. I think you don't even realize how much your extra translation work is on the wiki as well. You probably don't even know, like, every once in a while, I'll just throw something out in our channel and I'll be like, can someone just do this? You don't even know where I'm putting it, but it's showing up in the wiki somewhere. I actually, was it one of the Booble things I was doing the other day? Something like that. Like, if you have time, I always appreciate it. But like, there's some fairly extensive original translation work throughout the wiki that you and other folks did.
I mean, yeah, it's like most of the time it isn't all that big. When it's bigger, then I have to, set aside some actual time to do them. And right now, with more work to do and so much stuff to plan, it's kind of hard to be able to dedicate some time to the bigger translations. I still want to do those 2 Iyoku interviews. I actually saw this video from Tony Strongstyle on YouTube the other day comparing GT and Daima, and all the translations he was using were just from that one Iyoku thing about Daima that I translated. And I still want to do the 2 other ones, but I just don't have the time right now, but I really want to get back to them.
Yeah, I also understand just looking down the barrel of like this long form stuff. It's like, oh God. Like once you start, I'm sure I feel this way about AMVs or other articles I do. Like once you actually get started, stuff kind of rolls. But man, just looking at a blank page going, oh boy. But yeah, I think that's what I would encourage people to do is look for a whole bunch of extra translation stuff. I mean, we have stuff that Julian translated like 15 years ago, like all the Dr. Slump information that's in there, like all of Toriyama's comments, that's all new. We've been holding on to that stuff forever. If you look at all the the one shots. Like there will be comments from like the Jump remix things and Tankobon cover, like author comments that we're plugging in here for the first time. I know I don't even remember all the stuff I asked you to do, and you probably don't even remember all the stuff that you have done, but there are just tons of one-off, like little translations. They're all new. They're all in there. There's a lot more to do, but there's a lot of cool stuff.
I mean, yeah, it's not only do I enjoy helping out with the site, it's also good practice for me, because the more I translate, the better a translator I become. So, and
Yeah.
if I need to practice, might as well practice with Dragon Ball, helping out the community. So,
Yeah. Love it. What do you think? So I'm asking everyone this. It's, early mid-March here. We're looking at less than a month until surprise. You can just look at everything.
Yeah.
What do you think the reaction and response is going to be once people get their hands on this?
I mean, the pages that are complete are really, really good. The ones that you made public, those are the really standout articles on the wiki.
Yeah.
And I think those are just great. You go, even if you go to the main page of the wiki right now and you just look at one of the public pages right now, it's just coffee. And then you just look at it. It's like all the instances of coffee in the series. And I find it hilarious. There are some other things that aren't quite as complete. I think the early super manga pages are mostly complete right now. I just don't think they're public. And there are some things that are pretty much in already if not complete, near complete state. But some things are still have a lot of lorem ipsum and stuff like that. I think the pages that are almost complete will maybe incentivize the rest of the fandom to go in there and do the things that interest them the most, because even though we're all Dragon Ball fans, we have things that we have different interests. Like, for example, I know that you are very much into the expanded Toriyama corpus.
Yeah.
You like to check out his different series, his comments and stuff like that. For example, since Super is this new thing, I like to see what's Toriyama's finger inside this new production of Super, which is completely different from what he did originally in the 80s and 90s. And Ken is really into the timeline stuff. If people check out the timeline page, good God, that is detailed. And that's the thing. By opening the wiki to more people, we can, pool all of our shared interest for Dragon Ball, but separated niche interests within Dragon Ball, and maybe we can get something more complete this time, and certainly better than the other wiki.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping. Again, apologies for repeating things throughout segments. I don't know what order I'm going to put everything in, but I'm excited for folks to see what's been in the works for so many years, but also to inspire other folks to be like, hey man, I know all about blank and you don't have it in here, and I would love to contribute about this. Here's everything that I've done for it. I hope there's a lot of stuff like that we just keep meeting new friends along the way that have all these cool expert niche interests that we can incorporate into it.
You know how I generally describe Kanzenshuu to people in my real life outside of here. It's like I describe Kanzenshuu as they're more professional than the actual professionals. And they don't really let just anybody into the group. You really need to show that. I don't really want to use the word true fan, but you're really dedicated to discovering more about Dragon Ball and enlightening the larger fandom about the more niche and obscure aspects of the series. And so when I actually got the invite back 6 years ago, it felt like receiving that envelope from Super Smash Bros. Like, oh my God, I got in the roster.
Yeah, you have to go fight Sephiroth now. That's how that works.
Let me go grab my sword.
I know there's definitely that. Not a little fully cop to it. There's like that elitist side of it. Like, you can't be an editor at Kanzenshuu because you're just some Joe Schmo. It's like, I mean, I really do. It's not just me. I think all of us collectively, we expect someone, like, if they're going to be doing this, you can't just be, oh, I think I know about this and I think I'm going to go write some stuff. Like, no, man, I actually need someone who has a deep history and researched knowledge and maybe even their own contacts beyond this to be able to write about this stuff. And so it's a small group because of that, and it takes forever because of that. But I think once you see some of those pages, you'll be like, oh, okay, got it.
Quick question: the wiki is going to be public, but are the editors remaining the same, or is it going to be open to the entire forum?
Oh God, no! We are not opening up full editing access to the broader base of anyone, whether you're a forum or especially strangers. No, it's going to stay small and invite only. Yeah, it's got to be able to separate it, because then you're just going to end up with
the other
at a point where it's impossible for us to patrol all the edits, and then you're going to end up with citation Kanzenshuu. Motherfucker, what are you talking about, man? You can't just write that. So yeah, it's going to remain that way. I expect it to grow in editor base as the excitement grows, and either, lapsed friends come back or show interest again, or we just meet entirely new people. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited for people to see, like in from the people that I actually know from real life, only one other person has access to the wiki, and it's because I recommended him to you. So
yeah, I think it'll be cool. It's just going to be, it's so funny because, like, you can, on the main website, we have a recent changes log where, you just want to see what Heath and I are doing, like fixing typos on pages and stuff. Like, you can look at the change log there. You don't get to see all the, like, private pages that we're working on, like new guides. You don't get to see that because it's not public. And then separately from that, there's this other total install of a wiki with well over a decade's worth of just work done that no one's really seen before. And I think it's going to be so funny when people go in there and find what they find and don't find what they don't find.
I mean, if you go to the recent pages, to the recent changes page, the wiki for a while it was pretty much dormant. Like, people changed some stuff here and there, but it was pretty much dormant. But from the moment it was decided that it was finally going to go public, it's been more active than in years. And
that was intentional, man.
Yeah, and I see that the wiki channel on the Kanzenshuu Discord server it's like, for a lot of time it was also just like the wiki, it was really dormant, but now you have people doing pages regarding all the inspirations for Akira Toriyama and stuff going back to before Christ. It's like, it's insane the amount of dedication these people have. And as soon as people actually lay eyes on it, they're going to think, good God, these people are dedicated.
Yeah, I'm real dedicated to these fucking Dragon Quest spin-off manga that I've never heard of before. Man, why am I doing this to myself? I don't know. Like, I could be doing, I still haven't done the Dragon Ball Discross. I did all my research on the Charisma mission pages. I never made a page about that. But yeah, man, Dragon Quest Crossblade from Psycho Jump. I got to get all the chapter title pages for this, because if I don't do it, they'll be gone tomorrow. So,
my God. But yeah, it's been really interesting to also see the work you've been doing, checking out all of this obscure stuff. Because again, I think all of us in the Kanzenshuu team, we're all like really, I don't want to say the word obsessed, but we're really particular about really obscure and niche stuff. Yeah. And to see all of those resources pulled together on a single project, nobody's going to ever find out this information, because it's like, this is what like being an investigative journalist must feel like, because there are some things that you're unearthing that if you don't go purposefully unearthing, it wouldn't see the light of day, like, ever.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that, especially this Dragon Quest stuff. Again, I don't know why I'm doing it, but just going back and like, all right, man, I own all the trial issues of V-Jump. There's the stuff isn't even in Japanese, like out there on, like maybe someone's got a hidden blog there somewhere, but there's been one of the ways that I gauge the obscurity of some of the work we do is I'll do Google searches for like chapter titles in Japanese and I'll put them in quotes. I'm like, if I get 0 matches for this, it means one of two things. Google's broken again. You know, AI has completely destroyed web search. So, you know, maybe something is out there and it just doesn't know to pick it up anymore. Or more likely, no one's ever written all the Brief Return of Dr. Slump chapters all in one page before.
No.
So I'll do it. That's fun.
I mean, if Mike don't do it, who will?
Orega Yaranakia. Dariga Yaru. As they say. All right, man. Well, that's pretty much it. I just like doing these check-ins and getting different voices on here, hearing about all the cool things you've done. What's one cool thing someone should go check out? You can't say the real life timeline because you already mentioned it. You can't say the super manga chapters. You can't say Ken's timeline. Everyone said all of those things. What's one other random cool thing someone can go check out?
The Hoi Poi capsule page, which hasn't been named Hoi Poi capsule. I mean, until Daima, in forever.
Yeah,
but still,
right.
It's the name. So, and it's really, really meticulously written, and they even have all the number capsules in the entire series. I find that fascinating.
All right. That was Zenpai. Everyone go check out his translations on the main site, stuff in the wiki, super manga chapters. If you're in Portugal, or even if you're not in Portugal, go buy the Dragon Ball manga.
You can probably do it.
All right, Heath, we talked to a lot of people. Well, I did. You only talked to me. That's it. But I talked to a lot of people. I had a great time working on all of these segments along the way. Here we are, April 1st. It's live. Again, as we said at the top of the show, we're probably putting out fires all day long, probably jumping in and correcting things and working on new stuff even as the day goes on. Final thoughts and requests for the listeners out there as they're listening to this and furiously clicking through the site and the wiki.
I hope everybody finds something that needs to get done and then message Mike and tell him to do it.
You know what? No, I actually do want that. I truly do want that. I want you to look through all the bullshit that I did and tell me, hey, this sucks, do this instead. Like, I kind of do want that. I want to know what other people want to see on this, because left to my own devices, you will also become a master in Dragon Quest manga. Instead of anything else. So tell me what you want me to get my attention back to instead. That sounds good. I'm fine with that.
It has been fun watching you do that. Logging on every morning and checking the recent changes and be like, oh, Mike's at it again.
Mike learned something new. Uh-oh, what did he buy? Uh-oh.
No, I hope everything goes swimmingly and we can just enjoy it. That's really what I want. I want other people to enjoy it, but I want to be able to enjoy it too and just sit back and watch.
I think that's what I need to do is actually just like click through on other stuff that other people did. Everyone that I've talked to, this is a funny thing through line through all the conversations where everyone's like, I don't know. I think this cool thing is over there, but I'm kind of just focused on my own work. Like no one's actually looked at anything else that anyone else has done for the most part. Other than
that's so
Ken's
true.
timeline and Zephyr's new real world timeline. This timeline stuff, that's the only thing people care about. Like no one else has looked at anyone else's work. I mean, I have because there's stuff I've gone in along the way and I'm sure you have, but so I'm excited to go check out the other projects that people have been working on, actually read it all myself. So Heath, let's bring it to a close. This has been a monster of an episode. So we got a few things for you to go click on. Number one, www.kanzenshuu.com. Put a /wiki at the end of that. It's up. It's live. Congratulations to us. Congratulations to you. You can go read it. I would also plug, if you just like what you see, patreon.com/Kanzenshuu. It does make a difference. We have expenses. We have server expenses. We have domain expenses, firewall expenses. Like running a website is not the same as running a social media account or running a YouTube channel. There are certain built-in things that I'm not going to say other folks don't have to worry about, but let's be real, they don't have to worry about. We do. And we do this with, again, no ads, no AI. You just look at it. No one's tracking you. All right, this is one thing I did want to talk about early on is we have Google Analytics, and it's literally there just for me to have any indication whatsoever that anyone's looked at anything. I'm just curious to see what the most visited pages are. I have no idea who you are, where you're coming from. I'm not sharing that data with anyone else. I guess Google has it, but like no one's paying attention to your activity on the site. Like it's just a website that you can just look at. If you like that, if that sounds exciting to you in the year of our Dende 2026, patreon.com/Kanzenshuu. It is Saturday as we're recording this, so I have to plug grabyournearest.com, aka, Aka, twitch.tv/VegettoEX. I will see you most Saturday nights for Mario Kart. Heath, I see you log on playing baseball. I don't know if that's you or one of your kids, but I see that pop up a lot.
That's my son.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're playing Mario Kart. What's Heath doing?
I am probably putting my daughter to bed while my son plays baseball on the Switch.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think those are all the things to plug. Heath, it's been a pleasure, sir. Pleasure, sir. Words. Look, it's not even 4 p.m. and give you an idea of my day. The old cat, the 20-year-old, 5:30 on the fucking dot every morning. She's been coming in and just screaming at the top of her lungs. She doesn't want anything. She's not needing for anything, I assure you. And today could not fall back asleep. And I'm like, all right, what if I got up and just started watching Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai today? Well, I've watched 10 episodes of that show today. I need to move on with my life and do other things. So I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you today, sir.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, I know who Hadlar is now. That's cool. I want a Hadlar figure.
Well, there you go. See, always learning.
Yeah, always be learning. Kanzenshuu, always be learning. Trademark registered. Goku is Ginyu, Ginyu is Goku. We'll see you. Goodbye, everybody. The Wiki's live. I'll see you for maybe more podcasts. Hey, this is the reason why there haven't been a lot of podcasts lately. In case that wasn't clear, I probably should have said that like hours ago on the show here. It's been all the wiki work, but also recording all these segments with all these people for an extra long episode. That's it. Okay, www.kanzenshuu.com. Goodbye, everybody. I've been Mike. That's been Heath. Let's go do more wiki work.
Goodbye.